Okay then, so what happened in this week's Coronation Street? Like I was saying, it was a good week. It was. I think that tonight's wasn't quite as strong as Mondays and Wednesdays, but on the whole, I'm pretty satisfied with how this week went. How about you?
I'm satisfied, yeah.
You more than satisfied?
It was good, yeah. Good, good bits.
I think it was like I wasn't when I went into Monday's episode. I didn't know any of the stuff with Joel and Dee Dee and Swain out on location was going to happen. So that was quite a nice little treat, wasn't it?
I loved
That mystery was
it
fantastic.
It looked like a really cool place.
What?
The location.
Oh yeah, no, it was. It looked, well, I assume it was. It looked nice, and then we had the church on Wednesday that I was a little bit anxious about how it would go down. Obviously, with all the fighting that there's been recently with Billy and Bernie, but I think it held it together well. I was just a little bit disappointed by the rave. I don't know what I expected particularly. I don't know what would have made it a nice. No, I can't use the word nice. It's rubbish. What would have made it a satisfactory end to the week? But I think that the amount of just the amount of arguing and misery and fallout and just general Kirk probably didn't help. I don't know, and some of the other bits that were more interesting to me in the first half of the week didn't quite continue into Friday, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I didn't find the rave disappointing. I thought it was exactly what I expected it to be like.
Okay, so it got like what?
I just thought they'd all be dancing around in the street, and they were.
I was kind of went into the episode hoping that we'd end it with a feeling of everything's great now, and Bernie and Billy have made up, and Billy's realised that the rave is actually a great idea, and I know we kind of did feel that at the end because Bernie was able to extract him from the floor of the flat, but the episode to me was just overshadowed by the fallout and the silly ashes and the idea.
The silly ashes?
Well, just the ashes on the podium and then the idea of them getting blasted into space. I don't know. Maybe as we kind of get through to those episodes, I'll be able to explain my thoughts in a little bit more detail for that one. But yeah, on the whole, I still think it was a pretty cracking week, to be honest. So we're going to start off with the Paul Bearers storyline, moving on to Die Missing Deering Mystery.
Oh God.
Yeah, you haven't seen that one before, have you?
No,
that
I
was
didn't see that
stretching it a
coming.
little bit. Is Fizz gonna pop? Is storyline number 3.
Yeah.
Got a bun in the oven, and then we've got the Platt. That was nice. Oh my God, I've got to use better adjectives than nice today. Platt 6 surgery is next, and then there was a tiny little bit of the mason and the carpenter. You're much better at being respectful than me, Gemma, so can I pass the Paul storyline over to you to synopsise, and I can jump in with my thoughts as we get there? Is that
okay?
You
Yeah.
down with that?
I'm down and sound like a pound on the ground.
Nice. Can you just pass me the cup of tea over before we get started?
That I made you.
Yeah, thank you very much, my nice cup of tea. I need a good slurp. So,
Right,
Paul
don't
Bearers,
be
Gemma.
audible with that,
And
please.
can I just say, Todd stole my Paul Bearers joke.
I know.
He did it. Like, I feel...
Well,
I
I
don't
think
know.
it was low-hanging fruit.
It was a little bit. It was either going to be Todd or David that was going to say it, to be honest, wasn't it? But I got in there first, just
Yeah.
saying.
You think that you came up with this before the writers did?
Yeah, they only just threw this episode together on
Yeah.
Tuesday evening, probably.
Just quickly, bash it out. Got to get this done. Right.
So, Monday then.
On Monday, Billy goes round to number 5 to see how Bernie's getting on, and she's up to her eyeballs and bits and bobs trying to get this rave together. And it does feel to me like this rave was the antithesis of what raves were supposed to be about, because it's very organised and planned, and there were lots of...
The only drugs were paracetamol.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's how it goes. Anyway, he invites her to the flower shop so they can talk about flowers. And, of course, they're not on the same page again, because he wants a nice traditional white lily and Bernie's not a fan. She wants yellow everything. So Roy says, why don't you compromise? I don't know what the compromise could be. What, cream?
Bit of both. I can't
Yellow
remember
and
what
white?
he does suggest something.
They look like fried eggs. Todd asks if they've decided what they're going to do with Paul's ashes yet, and they said no. I have to say, I am really surprised that Billy didn't just want a grave.
Oh, what, as in...
Like, you can have the ashes in a
Non-cremation.
grave.
Oh, yeah, you can, yeah, absolutely. That's
really-
where my mum is.
Yeah, I think most people are buried with ashes in a grave. I don't know if that's wrong, but
Well, no-
that's how it feels to me.
Well, I don't think that Billy was... I guess he hadn't decided for sure, but he hadn't said that he doesn't want the grave.
He didn't have
he?
a plan at all, did he?
There's a few things in this that just seem a little bit cobbled together. Well, the whole, how does Paul want his funeral? How would he want his funeral to be? I'm still not convinced that wouldn't have been a topic of conversation while he was still alive and kicking. And then, the arguments that have happened this week about the ashes, I've just not really enjoyed.
I wonder how many people
them butting heads
who have a terminal illness just don't have any plans at all, because I think that would be one of the things that would kind of preoccupy your mind. Like, how am I going to be remembered? How are they going to mark my life?
Well, I think maybe I probably would.
I'd plan it.
As much as I trust you, darling, to do
a
bang up job.
You do it.
But yeah, the whole ashes. I don't even I mean, I don't want to disrespect anyone who's listening, and everyone can do things in their own way.
No,
but I think the whole idea of even splitting the ashes, to me,
that's very common.
It doesn't feel.
I know what you mean.
I don't want to be split.
It does feel a bit weird.
You can have all of me.
I know,
please.
but how much of that really is all you?
What do you mean?
I don't know. Is it just bits and bobs
It's
of
the
whatever's
scrapings
left?
off the crematorium floor?
Are you slightly weightier at the end of the day than you might have been at the beginning?
If I had somebody's ashes,
yes,
I'd like to think that I was able to keep them whole, even though scattering is obviously, separating them all over the place. And I wouldn't necessarily want to get them turned into a diamond or anything, to compact them down together as much as you can. But having a bit of somebody here and a bit of somebody there, because they're just arguing over who gets them, to me doesn't feel like the most.
Everyone has their own idea
about
what they want, and it's very personal, because some religions you wouldn't be able to do this at all, and some religions you'd have to have a cremation. It's very different for each person. I only really recently heard about people splitting ashes up. I didn't really even think. Never something I even thought about.
Well, no, I suppose I've never really given it much thought. But when the issue popped up on this week's episodes, I was just like, well,
what do you think about?
Somebody's got to have them. You can't split them. Obviously, you can split them, but
what do you think about scattering in different parts of a same area? That's what we do with my nan.
We did do that. Have we told this story on the podcast before?
I don't know that it was actually allowed to be done. But
go on. Do you want to? Well, go on then.
No, not really.
Oh, okay, fine. Well,
I'm sure we've mentioned it before. Anyway.
We just went around London and put her in various parts.
Well, she was a proper Cockney. She was one of the last actual Cockneys.
Yes, so we just put her in different bits around that kind of area. Anyway, I still think if I was Billy, I'd probably want to try and put my foot down. And I know that when people die, our families will fall out over one thing or another, money or
heirlooms.
Yeah, exactly, or even ashes. But I think in the same way that I really do believe that it should have been Billy who was the one that had the final decision on what the funeral should have been like, I think as his spouse, he was entitled, if two people are saying, well, I want the ashes, no, I want the ashes, I think they should have gone to him. But maybe he was okay with burning. Was he okay with her having some of it?
At the end of it, I think he was. He had no plan. He literally just didn't want to let go. That was why the final scene of those two together was heartbreaking. When she says, "Oh, you're going to set me off," that was just so real. Again, it just felt.
There were some fantastic performances from all the main players this week. Absolutely.
And I really love also the way that families are so weird, and especially married, when you marry into a family and suddenly you're kind of hanging around these people that you would never have met before or don't have anything in common with necessarily, but you've got this really deep bond just because two people decided to get married once. And now Billy and Bernie are not in Coronation Street, because this isn't how it works in Coronation Street, but they should really be bonded for life over the fact that
I feel that we're going to see a drifting apart of Billy and Bernie.
I think in about 5 years' time, if they're both still in the show, she'll be like, oh yeah, that Billy, I don't really get on with him.
Well, it's like how
she'd never met him in her life before.
It's like how, like, technically Chesney and Leanne are related through marriage. They're kind of semi-brother and sister-in-law or something. And you wouldn't have a clue.
And the amount of
people
times,
go on.
The amount of people who've raised children that they never speak of again.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and we've also had people on the internet this week, I think it originated on Reddit, commenting that perhaps Sam and Bethany have never ever shared a scene together since Bethany returned earlier this year. So, yeah, I mean, Corrie families are a funny little kettle of fish.
Especially with multiple siblings on both sides of a family, like the Platts.
Mm.
The Platts really are related to everybody now.
Basically, if you're not a Platt, you're a Barlow. What do you think of the idea of the ashes being blasted into space? Maybe not
They're
in
not being blasted into space, are they?
Well, whatever
They're
it
being
is.
attached to a balloon.
Do you like that? Do you think that's what Paul would have wanted? I suppose that's the main thing.
Paul probably wouldn't have minded.
Again, I don't think that I want my ashes. I don't even want to think. Maybe I'm like Paul, and I was like, I don't want to think about it. But I think if I were to think that somebody after I died were thinking, I know what Michael would really want. He'd love it if we stick him on a rocket and blast him up to the moon. I'd be like, oh no, I wish I'd said something now. And I don't get the idea that that's what Paul would have wanted. I think there's just been a little bit of revisionism with Paul. I really
think the whole rave stuff.
We haven't seen him do a lot of raving.
No.
I don't think he wants to be blasted into space, but then equally, we didn't see much of his Christianity, and I've been banging the drum of he should have a proper Christian funeral. What would he want? I don't really know.
I can believe that he used to like going to raves, but I don't believe that it's his life like Bernie. I think it's Bernie's life, and I think Bernie's gone on about it so much. He talks about the old days and raving, and I used to know this guy and that guy, and we used to do this and that, and dance to this, and all night long, drugs, whatever. Paul's never really talked about any of that stuff.
No, not particularly. I'm thinking. I mentioned about compacting the ashes down into a diamond earlier, which some people do and have a ring. Would it not be more suitable for Bernie to have him turn into a crystal of some sort, and then she could wear him as
for a crystal, and
as
also
a pendant?
You need the whole lot. Apparently, you need quite a lot of ashes to make it.
Fill him up with a bit of glass or something. It's like water in the wine. Put a little bit of glass or plexiglass or plastic or something into to make a lovely crystal of Paul. I think that she would have preferred that, and it almost feels to me like the idea of blasting him into the air is a little bit like out there. I mean, even Deb's reaction when he first hears about it on Wednesday is, what on earth are you talking about? And it feels just slightly like a bit of a pie in the sky Corrie writer's room idea rather than a natural idea Bernie would have got. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But definitely the raving side of it, I feel, is more of a Bernie thing than what Paul
I don't know.
wanted.
Blasting somebody off into space just sounds like the sort of cockamamie thing that Bernie would.
But is that disrespectful to Paul to have some kind of cockamamie ending to him?
I'm not. I only meant it because it's not really blasting into space. Because I know some people have had that, haven't they? You go on a rocket, but it's very expensive. Yeah. Being attached to a balloon is not going to space.
No, I suppose maybe balloon is okay. We haven't got to this scene yet where they start talking about it because it's on Wednesday, isn't it?
You seem very preoccupied.
What do you mean?
With with ashes and.
Well, it was a hot topic in this week's shows, wasn't it? And I don't know, it just doesn't necessarily.
Are you necessarily even going to get cremated?
I don't even know.
It's very expensive to get buried.
I don't know.
I think the last time I looked, it was like £6,000.
It's really morbid.
But I think that is greatly increased by now. And you only get to you only rent the hole for 100 years. You don't get to keep it.
Oh God, Bennett. Okay.
And then they bury someone else on top of you. That's why I'm getting a crypt.
Oh yeah,
are you going in with the crypt with me?
Yeah, let's have it. We haven't got any children. We'll just buy a crypt.
That's what I'm going to do. That's my plan. I remember
just turn
we
a
went
house into one.
To Highgate Cemetery, and there was this couple. I think they were Canadian, but maybe I'm wrong. But they loved Highgate Cemetery, and they were like benefactors, and they were incredibly rich, and they had no children. And through special dispensation, because of their incredible wealth, they were allowed to build an enormous mausoleum in the corner. I want to go back and see it, actually. I think they said it cost them £1 million to get this mausoleum built inside Highgate Cemetery. And to me, that is like, you say, I want a Bentley, I want I want, a suite of the Ritz. I want to live on a cruise ship. I want a yacht. I want a crypt in Highgate Cemetery.
Who am I
Not
to criticise Bernie's cockamamie ideas when you actually want a crypt?
I want the good side, not the crap side that anyone can go in. I want the side you have to get a ticket to go into. Thank you very much.
Where were we? We're only about 3 scenes into this episode at the moment, aren't we?
Right.
So we get they're talking about splitting the ashes. Bernie is not going to let Billy have the whole lot. Oh, I found it difficult to like Bernie at some points this week.
Bernie, it was very interesting because, again, I was watching this going, I'll be fair and open-minded because I was really caught off guard by the amount of people who were on Bernie's side originally when it was clear that, it was kind of clear to me that Paul had a religious side to him and that I thought Billy was perfectly within his rights to suggest the most humdrum and normal of farewells, which is to have a Christian funeral service. Well, I didn't really think that was some kind of outlandish demand that he should have been lambasted for on the internet, but he was. And then this week, because I was so caught off guard, I was like, right, okay, so I'm going to be completely neutral here and just take it on individual merits of who do I think, like I've got to be open-minded. And again, Bernie was just being a bit of an arse, and I think she was really horrible on Wednesday.
Let's see when we get there for that. But yeah, is this a little bit like, when we were looking into weddings and I was quite surprised to see how many barn weddings there are versus church weddings, when I just kind of assumed that lots of people had church weddings, even though I totally get that a lot of people don't have religious beliefs. I just kind of thought, well, people still want to get married in a church, don't they?
A lot of people
is that
do.
I probably would have thought that about funerals as well.
I don't know.
Just to be on the safe
funerals.
side. No barn funerals.
Don't know.
I don't know. But anyway, let's get back to the episode.
So I was, on Wednesday, like I said, because I was trying to be neutral. I still thought Bernie was out of order, but I still come on Twitter on Wednesday evening and people go, "Billy's so sanctimonious. I hate him. He's such an arsehole." I'm thinking, I just don't understand. Even if you don't agree with anything he believes in, that you can really think that Billy was in the wrong when he was really treated quite badly by Bernie. And I have sympathy for both of them, but I just can't. And even when somebody is in the wrong, I can still completely empathise with them, and I feel bad for Bernie, and she was just lashing out because she was grieving, but she wasn't in the right.
No, I don't. I really don't think so.
Anyway, sorry, I'm leaning back a bit here because the cat's on my lap, and I'm trying to. Right, so where are we?
Still here, yeah.
Right, so the 50-50. Could it be?
Yeah.
Poor. I feel really. Yeah, Billy's. The other thing also too is to bear in mind is, take it on face value, because in if this was real, Billy really should have a bigger support group than he does.
He's only got Summer.
But at the moment, it kind of feels lopsided because you've got Billy alone hugging this pillow made of Paul's shirts. And, Todd comes in every now and then to see if he's all right, and Summer's there. But Bernie's got this big, massive family who are all grieving and on the same page and in tune with what she wants and supporting her and cheerleading her. And Billy's not really got anybody like that really support. That was who Paul was. But I think that Todd's stepping up to the plate doing quite nicely this week. Oh yeah, was he? Oh, yeah. Right. So Bernie's in Dev's come back, from wherever he was mysteriously.
Yeah, there was a lot of people just coming back from mysterious hiding places, Michael, this week.
I think he was off to get some stuff for the rave.
Do you reckon? I reckon he
smuggled it through.
I reckon he was on a secret holiday with Gail. And they said, "We'll come back in different episodes just so nobody will know. Nobody realised."
And look, we've overspent it, so you're going to have to sell your house to pay these credit card bills off.
Oh, it was on Monday that the space ashes story comes up. Because this is when she's in the pub with Dev, isn't it?
Well, she says, "I want to send his ashes to space." Now, I'm not completely against this idea. It sounds like a good... If you're going to scatter them, you might as well scatter them in space. And if you're like Bernie and you believe that everyone in the universe is one with each other, well, you're just sending them back to the source, aren't you?
I guess you are.
But not on a balloon, though. On a rocket, I say. Mm. Anyway, well, maybe she could send them up with, when they rescue the astronauts...
Oh yeah, the ones that the stranded ones.
Maybe surely there's got to be a market, because they're going to blow up this International Space Station soon, aren't they? Because it's...
Are they?
I think it's run out of usefulness. I know how it feels. maybe they're gonna
We're gonna blow you up.
fill me with ashes and blow me up.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they could do that, couldn't they? Send a bunch of ashes up there and just blow it up. Imagine saying, "Oh yeah, my mum, yeah, she got blown up on the International Space Station."
That's a story.
That is a story. Dev's like, I can't believe what I'm hearing here, and Bernie's just like, oh, imagine him wafting down from the sky like a space cloud or a rain shower.
It doesn't sound.
It sounds romantic.
I wouldn't like to be rained on by Paul.
No, I think you'd have to have a shower.
But
it's not pure and natural, is it?
I just think that maybe putting him in the ground would be fine. I think he'd probably prefer that. But what do I know? I don't know.
I don't know if he would prefer that. I don't know.
I don't know. I got no idea.
Did you ask him?
Well, no.
You shouldn't do it. No.
I asked Peter Ash what sort of funeral he thought that Paul would prefer, and he said, "But why not both?" And he kind of gets why not both in the end, doesn't he?
Why not both?
Didn't ask him about the ashes.
Right. So.
Should have done. It's a clues in his name, isn't it, Peter Ash?
Wow. Anyway, Bernie sees Dev's expression, and she's like, "Oh, maybe it's a silly idea." And she says, no. He says, no, if that's what you want to do for her star child, you should do it.
Oh, yeah, she was talking about her star. I mean, the fact that, he's Apollo. I can't remember which character it is that makes the comment about it. I think it's on Wednesday about Apollo being sent to the moon. It's all very poetic, isn't it? But
what's his middle name?
I don't know. He's got
should have paid more attention at the wedding. On Wednesday, Billy's looking at the wedding photo because it's a year ago.
Since they got married.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out for that in 4 years' time, everybody, in the quiz. Chesney is ironing his funeral.
5 years ago.
Gob. No, 4 years from now.
4 years from now, funeral. 5 years from now.
Yes, you're right.
Wedding.
Maths.
I know math.
Who trusts it? Not me. Joseph's sad because he's worried about if he cries. It's really sad. The funeral car's there. He did get a blue one in the end. I don't remember what sort of car he wanted, but it looked like perhaps the correct one. Neon stripes, flowers, said Apollo on there. I would have gone for Paul because it's cheaper.
Only the best for our Apollo, though.
Billy says a prayer and he gets, for all I say about I like the tradition and the ceremony of the funeral. I don't know what the hell he was doing with that pastry brush.
It was a bit pastry brushless, wasn't it?
Was he just oh my god, was he basting him for the oven?
Oh god.
Make sure he gets a nice glaze.
He was anointing him with holy water or something.
Or oil.
But it was very nice.
Well,
Bernie wasn't
impressed with this. And then it turns out that Joseph's going to stay at Fizz's. But you never see him there, so...
No, I wonder... We did have a bit of that on Friday, didn't we? And Joseph being guilty about not being there. But I wonder... I don't know whether they're going to go any further with it. Or whether it was just a case that they didn't want the kid to go to do the
maybe they just don't let the children
available.
Do the funeral or the church scenes because they're so bloody boring.
Yeah, it'd be too fidgety.
I think that it's just really hard. And I don't know how long they're allowed to film for. I don't think they could film it. I think they do. They walk down the aisle sometimes, don't they, for things? But I think they can just walk them down and walk them out.
All the quads did the
I know,
wedding
but I
don't
think they sat there, did they?
I don't know.
Picking their noses.
Probably. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting choice. I thought
it's the thing
possibly wasn't needed, a bit of a time filler, but...
It's not like they were going... Because surely there's a limit to how much they can film, right? Legally. So surely they were like, yeah, get the quads in the church. We don't use them for anything. So it doesn't matter if we use up a week's worth of their time on this. Whereas Joseph, you want him in other scenes.
But he's not in many other scenes. But
he's in more than they are.
But I thought it was not. I thought it wasn't necessarily needed, but it did give William Flanagan a chance to do a lovely little performance, which he did.
Yeah.
So there we go.
And if you haven't tuned out yet, I will still continue.
We are really waffling tonight.
Idiots to just pontificate about things we have no idea about, so we shall continue. Billy's preparing in the church and Denny's there, so this is their dad who is estranged.
Paul's dad. He's drinking and he drops a can and he's like, I don't know where else to go, and Billy's like, I've done worse in here, to be honest with you, you're right, just don't steal anything. I know. I'm sure that the anti-Billy brigade, when he was having a go at Denny there, was very holier than thou. He was literally 10 paces away from the aisle where he was shooting up heroin not 5 years ago. But did you know that Denny was going to make an appearance? Had you heard this one? No, I hadn't. I thought it came out of the blue a little bit. it started off the whole Bernie rant later on, didn't it? It was
This
quite...
was the catalyst.
Yeah, I said earlier this year, the whole introduction of Denny as a character felt a little bit pointless because he was only in it for a very small handful of episodes, wasn't he? And I was thinking, would the story have made any difference had he not been there? So at least they did bring him back for this, but I'm sure they could have still stirred up a bit of drama between Bernie and Billy without him there. But
anyway,
sorry, waffling again.
He's like, you can stay, I suppose. And so the service begins. The pallbearers bring in the pall, and Gemma and Bernie follow behind.
I loved how they had Kit on one of the corners. They had,
yes, Dave was like, this is going to go so badly.
Well, they had all those short asses, didn't they?
Yeah.
It was Summer, David, Todd. None of them are getting anywhere close to 6 foot, although David's hair is really stretching up there.
Yeah, he could have had it on his
And
head.
yeah, one of the corners is 6'5" Kit.
Well, there you go.
I thought it was quite amusing, but it's probably supposed to be.
Yeah. Billy starts talking about the wedding a year ago when Paul could still walk, and that's how they should remember him, like he does, and it gives him a bit of comfort to remember that. And then he's got tears in his eyes, and he says he doesn't want to just talk about the facts, but the feelings, how he made him feel, and how he made everyone feel equal.
It was a really, really lovely
everything.
little eulogy.
Yeah. Danny's just sitting there glaring, and Billy's continuing to talk about he had a smile for everyone. He was so resilient. The universe was a better place with Paul Foreman in it.
There was one bit where Billy talks about this church, St Mary's, was really special to Paul. This is the church that we got married in. And even there they cut to Denny, who was kind of glowering away. So I was wondering whether there was a little bit of homophobia there in Denny. I don't know whether I necessarily got that from him before, but or whether...
I wouldn't be surprised.
No, he's not a very nice kind of character, is he?
No.
But yeah, the speech itself was brilliant, and Daniel Brocklebank gave a fantastic job. This was this is the first half of the episode, wasn't it? So this was a Jan McVerry start to the episode, and they really did bring out the big guns from the writers' room this week, or a lot of them.
They did.
They had Jan McVerry on the first half of Wednesday, then Jonathan Harvey second half, his final Coronation Street script, and I'm really glad that he went out with an episode today. Exactly, I'm glad they went out with an episode that I really did enjoy. Then today we had Ellen Taylor and Stephen Fay. So I thought that the writing really did help Wednesday's episodes, because I was a little nervous going into it, thinking, are they gonna screw this up somehow? And I'm sure they won't. Well, I always worry, like, if it's an episode that I want to do well, I'm often a bit of a pessimist about it and think, but what if it doesn't meet my standards?
Right, okay.
But it did. It was brilliant. I loved it. Even though I knew that there'd be argy-bargy between Billy and Bernie, because kind of there just had to be, didn't there? And I'd not been enjoying that. But the way that it came out, it kind of worked for me. And this eulogy here was lovely. I think my main letdown about the funeral was just how empty the church was.
Yeah, I thought there would be everyone there, but it was, again, like a very small handful, which is sad because a young man dying, as Paul has, like that, tragically, I think that the church will be full. I think the younger you are, the more people will come to your funeral, because you just know more people.
Well, considering how much Billy, and then I think it was later Glenda, was making of, we all love Paul, he had a smile for everyone.
Yeah, well, welcome to his funeral.
Can't bother to come to his funeral, though.
Also, his congregation would have come. And I still wonder about that line, about Dee Dee saying, Paul and I have gone to the church a lot. I just don't understand whether they just wrote that in and went, no, we'll just pretend that never happened. But it was weird, because it was the reason that Paul decided to go through with the marriage and went to the church and everything.
Yeah.
Because it was important to him.
Well, I would just assume that...
Also, where was his vicar? Because it wasn't Billy. Billy's wasn't Paul's vicar. Where was Paul's vicar?
Maybe he was one of the anonymous revellers in the background. Not revellers, that's not the right word. Mourners, that's the one. Right. I always get those two confused. Because you basically, who did you have? You had Dee Dee and Ed being Paul's boss. You had
the fallen bites the dust.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, first Seb, now Paul. The position's cursed. It's the Defence Against Dark Arts teacher of the Builder's Yard. It's probably for the best that the yard's burnt to a crisp, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we had Daniel, we had Gemma, Chesney. Literally, the people who needed to be there were there, and nobody else. And it was just a shame
there were a
because
few extras, but
there were lots of
it
anonymous
used
extras.
to be that you would get everybody in a scene like that, but I just don't think they can do that anymore. I think.
Well, we've had people tell us as well that the Coronation Street podcast back in the day hated wedding and funeral episodes because there was so much sitting around
and really boring.
But I think it really would have been nice to have tried to squeeze in a few more. And at the rave as well, you had Bernie and Gemma. Kit was there, not doing a whole lot, and then a whole platform full of anonymous ravers. And it would have been lovely to have had the cast there. We had Ken, didn't we, on Friday?
Yeah.
As down. I wasn't completely down on Friday's episode. It just didn't top off the week as well as I wanted it to. But what I did like, and this did get me to laugh out loud, was Ken coming along completely unnecessarily but brilliantly, being handed a rave stick and just he was like waving it around like a conductor's baton, wasn't he? I was thinking, are they going to get him onto the dance floor? I don't know whether that would have been a bit too much. But that was a really, really nice touch to put that one in. But anyway, back to the church.
With everybody, please stand for all things bright and beautiful.
One of Paul's favourites, maybe.
Banger,
I would have thought, he was younger than us. How old is he? He was like 8 years younger than us, maybe.
Right.
I would have said that he might have wanted to go for a proper old school 90s assembly banger.
Like what?
I like
give me joy in my heart, keep me singing.
I suppose that's not really a funeral song, is it?
Give me joy in my heart. Well, what do you sing then? Jerusalem?
When I needed a neighbour, were you there? Were you there? Because then when they get to I was cold, I was naked, and everyone can go, or just Shine Jesus Shine. That's a proper classic.
I love that.
From the 90s,
I love Shine Jesus Shine.
I think Paul would have liked that one.
Good old Jesus. All Things Bright and Beautiful is pretty good though. Pretty good standards.
I think it's too standard.
Is it too happy?
I think it's
a funeral.
Again, that to me, and I don't want to diss whether it's Jonathan or Jan that picked that one, but it's just like him. All Things Bright and Beautiful. Yeah, okay, why not? Maybe Morning Has Broken.
Morning has broken.
I'm just picking holes in this, but I really did enjoy it. So the funeral, that scene, absolutely great. And as much as I didn't think that Denny was a worthwhile character, I appreciated his inclusion here. Really? He was hiding behind a pillar, wasn't he? Nobody
not a
else.
Worthwhile character.
No, I'm not at all. Billy said, "Look, don't you make your." What does he say? Don't let anyone know you're here, and keep your mitts out of the collection box as well. So at this point, nobody knows he's there, apart from Billy, or Bill as he kept getting called, which I like.
Back at the pub, Sean and Glenda are like, "Oh, sad, isn't it?"
Yeah.
Service is over. Bernie was like quite happy with it actually.
She was lovely. She was saying, "Oh, I love it." Yeah, and that was the moment where I thought, "Oh, maybe they're not going to have a fallout."
I thought, this is going in an interesting direction here. Maybe on Friday, Billy will be like, "Bernie, you've taught me the way of the rave. I taught you the way of the."
And Bernie's saying, "Look, can you baptise me now? Dunk away."
Classics in church, and you've taught me about blowing a whistle in someone's face as I dance around to techno.
The thing with the funeral is that we saw just the tiniest bit of it, didn't we? We saw the eulogy in the start of the first song. There is an awful lot in the service that gets very prairie and a bit.
It's a bit preachy, isn't
little
it?
Bit preachy. There was something that Billy said in his speech about being preachy. It was funny, but I think that there would have definitely been aspects that Bernie would have been very uncomfortable with.
Quite boring.
I think she would have found it boring and uncomfortable. Yeah. She even says to Joseph earlier in the episode that churches
are and bells.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I think they've maybe forgotten the fact that she used to clean at that very church, but never mind. She's saying, "Oh, I really liked it. Well done, Bill, you've done a lovely service." But then
she sees Denny and she's like, "What is he doing in here?" She says, "You should be ashamed of yourself. You coming in here in the state, drunk." And Billy says, "Oh, I said he could come in and stay." And Bernie is not happy about that at all. And asks him, "Have you forgotten what he did last time he was here? He should be in the coffin, not Paul. A beautiful service ruined. Good work, Denzel, even for you," she says. and he leaves with his tail between his legs, and Billy tries to tell Bernie that this is when he was a bit of an arsehole.
This was, I will
was out of order
admit
here.
this, because
There's no need for this. She was not upset about at Billy, really. She was mad
not
about
really. She was mad that Denny had turned
and
up.
she
I think
was perfectly right to be mad at Denny for being there at all, and also for being drunk.
I don't know. I
I
do think that Denny had a bit of a
after
right
he tried
to be
to
there.
sell the wheelchair.
It depends how repentant he really was. He wouldn't have gone unless he'd wanted to be there. He didn't go to cause a scene, did he? He didn't go to stir things up or
No,
we
I
didn't delve into it. I think
said,
he wanted to be there because it was his son. So I think he had the right.
I said she's perfectly within her rights to be mad about him being there. I didn't say that she's not in charge of it or anything, but there's certainly people that I wouldn't want to see at certain events that I would be within my rights to complain about them being there, but I wouldn't expect anyone to do anything about it. That's the difference.
Right, okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She was right. She's within her rights to say, I don't want this cretin here. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
But anyway, then Billy decides to be an arsehole and says, Bernie, you don't have the monopoly on Paul. Half his life you were off the radar. For 15 years you weren't even there.
So that to me,
that was unnecessary.
It's just too much a bit out of character. But I bet there's a lot of people who are Billy haters, and I know I might be singing Billy's praises at the moment, but we've definitely been through periods just a few years ago where Billy tried our patience to the limit. But I bet that people were probably watching that going, oh, here we go again, Billy, what a Darcy thing to say. But that at least to me was like, oh, you probably should have kept a lid on it there, Billy. That was a bit unnecessary. But I guess it was necessarily plot wise to then kick off the argument.
It's not like he doesn't have a point, but there was no reason to say it then.
No, and it's the way he said it as well. You don't have a monopoly on Paul. That is confrontational. That was, yeah.
I mean, I do. I
kind of deserved the backlash.
I'm only
that you
defending
got for that
him insofar as I'm a contrary person, and also I think sometimes we have to argue different perspectives. But you could say, he's been pushed here to his limit. He's just done a service for his husband, and now you've got Bernie. It looks like she's going to kick off. She wasn't kicking off, but she's made herself she showed herself to be quite capable of kicking off about things. And maybe sometimes everyone's done this. Somebody pushes you to the point where you're teetering on the edge, and then they do something that's actually quite innocuous, but you cannot handle it anymore, and you just go off.
And I will say, props to Bernie, because she went along to the service, she tolerated it, she admitted to Billy that was quite nice actually, and
that was really nice
took
of her.
a lot of guts for her.
I know.
Because it made her feel uncomfortable, but she did it because her son's husband wanted to do that.
Yeah. She didn't have to go.
No, she didn't have to go. She could have just said, "Look, you do
your
thing,
I'll do mine.
and I'll do mine." Exactly. So good on her for going. But yeah, Billy, you should have just said.
Billy just being
I think
there.
he should have just said, "Look, he just wanted to pay his respects to his son,"
dramatic, is it?
and left it at that. But yeah, it
Why
was
do that when you can
very incendiary what he said about you don't have the monopoly on him.
And you weren't there.
Yeah, you weren't there for 15
No
years.
need for that.
That was not the time to bring
Rude.
that up, Billy. Really, really wasn't.
She says, I was there when it mattered.
He's probably
at
been.
the end.
Thing is, he'd probably been thinking that a lot
Yeah, that's what
over
I mean.
the past 2 weeks. He's
Probably,
not necessarily vocalised it, but when he thinks, no, he should have this Christian funeral, and I should be the one getting his ashes.
But
he's been thinking it.
You don't know what Paul has said. You don't know if this has been from Paul, or or whether Billy's just thought on his part. Because sometimes, like with you, if somebody's horrible to you or wrongs you in some way, I actually get more annoyed about it than you do.
Oh God, you do.
So maybe he's like that, or maybe Paul has said some things to him, like, my man wasn't all those that great, or
I mean,
what has he heard from Paul?
Yeah, but Paul
doesn't seem
went
like a
through the
grudge holder.
period a couple of months ago where for about a week or two he fell out with her. But In general, he was a lovely, forgiving chap, and I don't think he would have said that. But what made it even worse was that Bernie has had these doubts about her own parenting, hasn't she? She blames herself for Paul getting MND, for all the raving she did when she was pregnant with him. She feels mega guilty about not being there.
For his funeral,
no, she feels totally guilty about not being there for 15 years of her life, and now for Paul. And Billy knows that she does. Surely he knows that. That was a really, really low blow.
Oh, dear me.
Drama.
For the drama.
But does that excuse her for what her next move is, which was firing back? Well, that when he was already dead, Billy, when you phoned him up and you thought you were saying your final goodbye to him.
She
that
says, I was there when it mattered at the end, and he says, well, I couldn't be there at the end, but I was there every morning in the run up to it, and I could still say goodbye on the phone. And she said, no, you didn't. Actually,
she should not have done that.
But
it was clearly we were waiting for it to happen. So
in
a way, I'm glad that the plaster has been ripped off and it's not been hanging over us like the sword of Damocles or whatever it is. But it's that was not the right time for that. Bernie. That was an arse.
They were both
move.
horrible to each other here. I can't see how anybody could come away from this going, yeah, maybe this is what Paul secretly wanted. He didn't say how to celebrate his life, but because he is a soap character, maybe he was like, really secretly, what I want at my funeral.
All I want is a blue car and drama,
and people to fall out with each other and have a big screaming row in a church.
I despite all this though, the way that the performance was done and the way that the script was written, it didn't feel particularly engineered or contrived the way it came out. I kind of do get how the characters were led to saying that. It didn't feel unnatural.
I kind of thought like it escalated like to ridiculous amounts, but it could
have been a lot more clunkily done.
A bit of an emotional moment.
Yeah, it was an emotional day.
So he says that, you tell me you're lying, and she says, no, sorry, but you shouldn't have let Danny into the funeral. You've really threw me. And Billy's like, I can't believe it. You're something else. You're killing me. But a bit more dramatic than that. So they go to the pub, the mourners.
Gemma is not the understudy for Dan Brocklebank.
I am. They just tell me, I'm like, hi, is Dan coming in today? And they're like, yeah, he is coming in.
No, he's gone on holiday again. He's sunning himself.
No, they say, don't come in, Gemma. We don't need you. And I'm like, are you sure I can do it? Listen, we are gathered here today. Yeah, we know, Gemma. You can do it. You're great. You're great. Just remember, you don't get paid unless you come in. Have
you got the pipes to sing as well as old
and did those feet in ancient
What was the song that he was singing in the pub later? I can't remember. I didn't recognise it, but
I got a lovely bunch of coconuts.
Next,
mourners are at the pub. Summer's looking for Billy. Bernie is just being a right cow now. She's all out war.
She's like, oh, he's here in his invisibility cloak.
Oh, maybe he's off having a pint with Denny somewhere, his new friend.
Yeah, or maybe he's just late. You know how he's always late for things. She's feeling proper guilty at this point.
Saying,
and I'm glad that she had the decency to feel guilty rather than just saying, well, I've said it now, so I'm going to own it. And she's like,
I feel bad about that.
Yeah, and I think that's what made the episode still stand up to me, because I didn't want them to fall out. I've not enjoyed the falling out, but the fact that she immediately is like, I'm really sorry, Billy, I shouldn't have done that, made it all okay for me.
So she then sends as a spit with her and Kit, because
a spit with Kit or a spat with Cat.
She's been horrible to Billy, and then Billy walks in. And Benny tries to apologise and offers him a drink, but he's steaming already. And Billy's like, everyone say something nice about Paul. Go, Glenda, go. And she says, well, he was always smiling. And everyone else is like, God, don't ask me. I've forgotten what he looks like.
Who was it? He asks George to say something about Paul. And I quite like the fact that George said, I didn't really know him. Because that kind of does ring true to real life. It doesn't ring true in Coronation Street whatsoever, where not only does everybody know each other, they've got each other in their phone book on their phone.
No, but they don't. I think they're doing that more now, and I don't know whether I like it or not. They're making it more obvious that some people just do not know each other.
Yeah, and that would explain the half-empty church as well.
That never would have happened in the old days.
No, it's because people don't go to the Rovers anymore. That's where you make your strongest bonds in Weatherfield, isn't it? They're all just on their phones at home. Or at the bistro.
So, Billy, in case you did wonder, is singing "The Wind Beneath My Wings."
Oh yes, I did
drunkenly.
write it down.
And everyone's like, "Good God, don't know what to do about this." So Ed goes over and offers to take him home, and Billy's like, "I don't need Molly. I don't need Molly coddling to bugger off," and goes away. And so Bernie sends Todd after him, and they go and sit in Victoria Gardens, and Billy is lamenting about the last thing that Paul had him say was that he's lost his phone, and Todd says it's better than bugger off.
I can't believe they got a bugger off on Wednesday's Coronation Street.
Special dispensation from the
So
Pope.
they get one bugger a year.
I don't know about that. Maybe Paul liked how the last thing he said was something normal. Suggests Todd.
Yes.
And Billy says, the only thing keeping me going was the thought that at least he heard my voice on the end of the phone in his final moments. Now I don't even know that he had that.
I can't remember whether I mentioned it here before, but I have seen it mooted online that Paul did hear the beginning of Billy on the phone.
I think he did as well, but it's irrelevant now because the only witnesses to that would have been Bernie, Gemma and Summer, and they obviously didn't get that happened.
I mean...
we saw that.
They might have seen it. I mean...
But why then say
Summer
that
could
he didn't?
turn around now and say, "Look, I think he did," but Billy wouldn't care.
It's irrelevant now.
Yeah. I think
I agree with that. I think that's what did actually happen.
Paul kind of heard Billy one last time and then let himself go. And I think if Billy had maybe been told that from the beginning, I just wish that he'd kept on believing that his whole speech had got through. But
anyway. They go back to the flat and Billy collapses on the sofa and Todd says that Paul died knowing that he loved him, and that counts for an awful lot. And the final moment was just a tiny little corner of the jigsaw of his life. But, Todd, the corners are the most important part of a jigsaw.
That's the bit you find first.
You've got to get the four corners so you know where you're going, okay? He tells Billy Paul will always be with him in his heart, and then Billy goes, "Kiss me, Todd," and tries to...
Oh, God. Well, he doesn't say that.
Well, no,
he just
goes,
does a lunge, doesn't he?
Blah.
What did you think of that?
Oh, here we go.
I just don't necessarily feel that it was necessary, and it didn't really go anywhere. On Friday, there was a little bit of Bernie and Todd saying, "Oh, last night," and Bernie's like, "What about last night?" Nothing. But I wish that they something. I wish they hadn't. I wish they hadn't gone there so soon. I don't know how true to life that would be.
I don't know.
For anybody, let alone Billy. It felt like a bit drama for drama's sake. That was a bit of a miss for me. Anyway,
they all just, just chill out, don't kiss anymore, and just sad and cry. Then Friday, Gemma comes down and finds Joseph on the sofa.
It was really, really nice, the ending on Wednesday, because Todd's kind of very reasonable about it, and Billy's still like steaming, like you said, and it just ends with him kind of half curled up on the sofa and Todd with his arm around him. It was lovely.
Really sad.
Yeah. Friday, the rave up.
Joseph's on the sofa because he couldn't sleep because he feels bad about not going to the funeral.
So he should.
Bernie comes in, she's like, "Yeah, rave time." I'm trying to text Billy and apologise, but he hasn't replied. Then we see Billy's hungover and he's not sure about what he's going to do, whether he's going to go to the rave or not, but he's going to get the ashes.
Yeah, he thinks he's getting the ashes. I can't remember whether Bernie knew that she was getting in there before Billy, or whether she also thought that she was supposed to be getting them. But
well, later on, the preparations are getting they've blocked off some of the Rosamond Street, and so they're right by the kebab, in front of the kebab shop where streetcars normally park their cars. That's
it was just kind of by the brewery gates, wasn't it?
Good job I don't need that for anything.
I hadn't seen any spoiler pictures for this at all, and I kind of imagined the whole of Victoria Street getting blocked off for it, like they did for the Peace Festival a few years ago. No, there wasn't enough people, but they had the road closed down, and they made they paid lip service to the fact that they probably wouldn't be able to get roads closed down for somebody's funeral.
They didn't need the roads closed down anyway, because they were just in the corner. They
I know.
Got run over.
Because they had Kit there putting his police tape round.
Look, it's not real.
But
right, so they're getting everything together, and Bernie asks Todd, I think, how Billy was last night. And
this is when Todd's like, "Well,
can you please bring me Paul's ashes so I can you can see the party?" Then we get the ravers, the raven in the 90s clothes, including tracksuits. Were you jealous?
I do like a nice shell suit, as you know.
Bubbles flying, tunes are thumping. So Billy's not there yet, though.
Summer's down in Paul's favourite top of hers, apparently.
Okay. And she's got a little bum bag, or fanny pack, as you call it, in a different country to this one. Strange people. That you are. Fanny pack. They go, bum pack. There's no good word for it, is it?
Yeah, no. Maybe there's another place that calls it just...
Arseholdle. Derriere...
Crotch sack.
Crotch sack, yeah. Derriere pack, I don't know. So, Billy
Groin... what's another word for bag? I've lost it. Groin carrier.
Groin carrier?
Yeah.
Okay. Groin pocket.
A groin pocket, there we go.
Okay, that's the new word for it. It's an international one. It's kind of like Esperanto where nobody uses it, but it's there in case you want
In case you just want to make yourself understood by everyone. A groin pocket.
Right, so Billy comes out eventually and it says this, sorry about last night, Tom. Then he's like, I've come to get Paul's ashes, and he's completely shocked to hear that they're all at the rave. So he marches over to the dance floor. There's murder on the dance floor. And has a bit of a go at Bernie. He goes, don't worry, look, I'll give you a little box. This is some of his ashes. I need most of them myself because I'm going to launch them into space. And Billy's like, what the hell is going? I've missed half of this. What are you talking about?
Bernie should have just said, it's closer to heaven, closer to God.
Bernie should have taken the box and she should have put, this would have been a drama for another day. She should have put most of the ashes in the little box and gone, I'll keep this, you have the urn. He wouldn't have known. If you give me a box and you say, here's the ashes of your dearly departed whatever, number one, I'm not going to ever look in there. You could put anything in there. I'm not looking at it. Number two, I don't know what the volume of a dead body is when you roast it to pieces.
This is very true. I mean, as a vicar, does he know a little bit more about ashes than the rest of us?
Maybe.
Possibly.
Maybe.
Yeah. How convinced were you during these scenes that Paul's the urn would end up getting knocked over and smashed onto the floor?
I was absolutely convinced because he kept bumping up and down. I was like, he's going to die.
Yeah, he's going to get Dennis Tannard, I thought. Or no. Pat Phelan, even worse.
Sad.
I just worry because Corrie does have a bit of a history of being incredibly disrespectful with ashes sometimes.
Even a tortoise got it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we had Hayley had a nice scattering in the lake. And Alma was as well up in the Lake District. But generally, if there's what was the other one? There was that awful scene with Norris and Mary that time. Do you remember where she throws the ashes in the air? Literally, if there's an urn on Coronation Street, there's a good chance that that's going to end up smashed or rolling down the street at some point.
What was it, like 60-70% chance you're going to be...
I would say so, yeah.
Paste on the floor.
Yeah, so Paul was very lucky not to come a cropper there.
Right, so... Bernie gives him this and says, I'm going to launch into space. And he's like, I am not having this. This is disrespectful. You're disrespecting me. You can't take his ashes.
Disrespecting Paul.
And Summer says, look, yeah, Bernie, I'm gonna really stand by him here. He was the husband. You're acting like you're the only one who's got any claim on Paul, but Billy really should be respected as well. Then we get, there was a funny little side bit where David starts talking to this guy who it turns out was one of the ex-cellmates.
Oh yeah, that didn't go anywhere. I wrote that note down, but nothing happened there, did it?
No, and he was like, all right, mate.
Yeah, and then we found out that
that
Paul's prison nickname was Minty because he had the freshest breath in the cell.
Nice.
Not just because he said everything was mint.
That's a pretty good, if you're going to go for a prison nickname.
What was the point of that? Are we going to see Andy back again? I don't know.
Maybe Andy's going to do a heist to get the Platts some lipo money.
Maybe he's going to try and steal the ashes back for Billy.
Well, I don't think he needs to, does he? Bernie takes paracetamol because she's getting a headache, and Billy and Summer and Bernie are sort of sitting on opposite sides of the road, kind of in a stalemate, not really knowing what to do. And looking miserable.
Yeah, but Billy decides in the end,
like, that's it,
enough's
I'm going to steal it back.
Head into the centre of the
throng. And he
runs
upstairs to the flat with the urn, and he sits on the floor and he hugs the ashes, which I thought was just all, awful, sad. What else would you do? Tell you what, though, that was a very huggable urn.
It was a good shape, wasn't it?
It was a nice shape for hugging. Maybe maybe they do this already, but you stitch the ashes into a teddy bear.
Yeah, he could do.
Just don't be sick on it because you can't wash it.
No. Oh, yeah, I mean, he's got his pillow to hug. Maybe he could have wrapped his urn in Paul's t-shirts instead. I don't know.
I don't know. I
Just
don't have no
spitballing
real
ideas
solution here. I think that you're going to be sad no matter what, aren't you? Bernie realises the urn's gone, so she marches over to the flat, and Todd and Summer are trying to stop her. And Todd's saying, like, you know, Billy's grieving, you need to give him some leeway. And then he lets it slip that something happened between them last night. And Bernie's a bit upset about this too. And she says, look, this isn't his day. This is my day. He had his day yesterday. You should let me, like, you know, this is my day to grieve. And someone's like, please, this has been a really good day. Don't spoil it. Which, that's kind of interesting. I was like,
For which bit?
Well, someone's saying don't spoil it. Like, I tell you what, 100% guaranteed, if I'm in a mood and it's supposed to be a nice occasion, and you say to me, don't spoil it, I'm going to spoil it. That's the only solution then to the problem.
You don't like being told what to do when you're cross, do you?
You really can't. Yeah, but I don't. It's like
Summer's
saying
just trying to be a peacemaker here.
It's like saying, calm down. That's not going to work, I'm afraid. It's going to make it worse. Saying don't spoil it, you're basically asking for me to spoil it.
Well, it doesn't. It works on Bernie.
Well, it works on Bernie. She's a very reasonable person, apparently.
She goes upstairs.
She goes upstairs. She finds him on the floor. She joins him there, and she says, "He's crying. He's going. You can do what you want. I'm not letting go. It'll be like losing him all over again. You can shout and scream, but I'm not gonna let him go." And then Bernie tells a story, because we had to get a funny Ashes story in here, even if we didn't witness it ourselves. We hear the story.
Yeah, we didn't have Mary in tonight's episode to tell one of our crazy stories about when she was younger, but here we had what happened to Bernie's dad's ashes, which was getting scattered on a snowy path and then melting into the pavement when the snow melts the next day.
He had to be swept away.
Yeah.
Billy's like, okay, fine. Well, he says you have to let him go. And she says, I think she does, I don't know who says this. We both do, but it doesn't mean we have to lose him again. And they hug, and she says, Paul is always going to be in your head and your heart. And I thought this was just a really lovely scene. Two people really struggling with a mutual loss who don't necessarily see eye to eye, but they're united in grief. And there've been a few really touching moments when they've been able to connect with one another, but this was one of the few moments where they're like, just let it all go and just...
I would have preferred today's episode if it had started with a moment like this, because they had their falling out yesterday. Billy went home not in the best of moods with Bernie, and if it had been a case of her going up there and having these words with him towards the beginning of the episode, and they just had a lovely old knees up, okay, maybe they wouldn't have had the cliffhangers or the plot or anything, but it wouldn't have had all of the I think unnecessary nasty exchanges that we saw a bit too much of in today's
Not everyone
episode.
can be nice to each other all the time, because that would be a boring show.
Yeah, no, I know. I just think I'd had my fill of those two at loggerheads, and today should have been just a fun celebration, and it wasn't. It was overshadowed by them not seeing eye to eye. I'm believe it or not, listeners, I'm not much of a raver myself, so I don't think I'm ever going to be fully on board with watching something about a rave. It's not going to be my cup of tea particularly, but I think I would have liked it more if it had just been a 100% joyous occasion.
Anyway, Bernie gets up, looks down at the party, and Billy says, Paul would have loved it, and maybe he would have also loved to be sent up to space. And I'll keep my box, but you can fire the rest of him up in the sky. And I'm sorry that, I forgive you for getting the urn before I did. And so they go outside and they have a little bop, and then Bernie gives an announcement and says, we're going to blast him into space. Not now, though. We're going to have some CGI fireworks.
Oh, my gosh. What?
Let me just finish. Gemma cries, and this was, Dolly Rose Campbell again, being fantastic. You could hear her audibly sobbing. You don't get that very often in Coronation Street, like proper just gut-wrenching sobs. So she's crying and she's buried her face in Bernie's shoulder.
I think she'd just seen the CGI fireworks.
And Bernie calls Billy over.
I was nearly crying real sobs.
And they have a group hug as they all grieve together.
It was
And then
so
Michael's just going,
so
can't believe
unnecessary.
this is ridiculous.
If you can't have real fireworks, don't have fireworks. Did that really add to the scene? It was already, it was a nighttime scene,
they did
but it was
switch it up.
already raving colour and lasers and stuff all over the place. The fireworks added nothing other than me rolling my eyes right up to the heavens. And they're just awful. They don't look good in the slightest. Who can look at that scene and go, oh, you know what? Those fireworks, they really look
like
nice.
them. I
Oh,
thought
how
they were really
beautiful
good.
they are. They look
My favourite
awful.
bit about them
They stick an
is
old
the way
GIF from the
that-
90s up in the sky. It's what it looked just as bad.
My favourite thing about them is that they were completely out of... the ratio is completely wrong. So they and also the angle that was off as well. It just literally did look like they just went select sky, just
it was
insert
just
video
the pits. At least when they had
No, I
to
loved
CGI fireworks over the Rovers at New Year, I kind of predicted it was happening. So I was steeling myself and I was ready for some horrible fireworks. But with this, it caught me off guard.
I'm just happy that
so much.
Winter Brown's money troubles are over.
Oh, what? Now they can...
They just afford fireworks.
They didn't have to. They just...
No, they weren't real, were they?
Oh man, it was awful.
Do they
But
right, here's
the
my
rest
question.
of the rest of the rave get up was quite
Do
nice.
they just not have any money to do fireworks? Is it really expensive, or is there something else? Like, is there the insurance is too much, or do they feel like it gives it away if people see fireworks coming from Coronation Street, or what is it? Does it take too long to film it, and everyone gets cold and wants to go home?
It's to me. And I've got no insider
fireworks
knowledge
kind
about
of
this.
boring
It
anyway.
feels like it's a bit of a health and safety thing.
Because you can get things falling on your head, and
You
catch
can
on
buy
fire.
a cheap rocket for a couple of quid that would have looked better
I
than this.
bet you're not allowed to buy those for
what?
for celebrities. Their faces will come off.
I just can't. I can't even. What is the point of that?
I think the point is to annoy you. Works every time.
Anything else about the rave? The rave was
I really
fine.
hope that there's more fireworks at Christmas and New Year's.
Stop it.
And bonfire night.
No.
We've got bonfire night coming up
Oh
soon.
god, we haven't we?
Is there going to be an episode on bonfire night?
This may be the reason that they don't have fireworks is because Rita's still got that ban in the cabin from selling fireworks.
She will not have it.
And the rest of Weatherfield are like, well, we still want to have fireworks. What do we do? Let's just CGI them up there.
Well, I mean, people don't have lighters at concerts anymore. They have mobile phones.
How was
Tuesday is...
no bonfire night this year. How was Dev for you?
Loved him.
Yeah, he was getting well into the 90s spirit, wasn't he? But Kirk,
we don't need to talk about it again.
Why put him in there? Okay, so I thought that all in all, I was pleased with how this story went down this week. It was on the whole a good send off.
The only thing I would say,
brilliant character moment,
was that I thought I still stand by saying that the Paul and Billy special episode was better, more heart-wrenching than both Paul's death and both funerals.
It felt
But
like more of a special episode.
I don't think it needed. I don't think we needed to cry in every episode that has Paul in it. Now.
But for all of them, you've said it wasn't as sad as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they still kept that through to the funeral. And the funeral was sad, and it wasn't even, there was the odd joke here and there in the eulogy where he's like saying, "Oh, look at me preaching again." I can't remember, but I think that the fact that they had the other stories dotted around it did help to balance it out.
And I don't care what you think about Billy as a character, but I just want to give props. I think everyone really can agree to give props to Daniel Brocklebank because he genuinely gives off an aura of being a vicar. Whether you hate vicars or love vicars or whatever you think about a vicar,
I don't think that Daniel Brocklebank thinks a whole lot about the vicars. I think he's made his stance on the church clear in the past.
Well, listen, I think he does a bloody brilliant job, and he gives off a fantastic. I completely believe. Sometimes I forget he's not a real vicar.
Yeah,
well,
that is the mark of a good performance. He's fab. I don't know. Do you think that we're going to have a bit of a rest to this story now? It feels like there's not much more that you can do.
I don't think we're going to see the blasting to space. I think we'll just hear that it happened.
Yeah, I don't need to.
No,
the
because it will
story.
just be it'll be like a CGI. Maybe they'll CGI a little face of Paul going up in the air as this guy.
The story has been one of Corrie's highest. It has been. It's been the best storylines for the past year and a half for me. I was sad that it had to come to an end, but I think that if they tried to extend it any further, I don't know, maybe they have a great idea how to, but I wouldn't be disappointed if this was kind of the end of it. And of course we will see, how's Billy coping as a grieving widower.
How long does it take Billy to get into Todd's
pants? Exactly. But yeah, so as far as I'm concerned, this can be the end of the story.
Well, I think once you've died, it's kind of the end, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and it stuck the landing pretty well.
Really well done, Corrie. This was a triumph, honestly. What a great storyline. And also...
And a great twist on the terminal illness trope.
We've had our criticisms of some of the weird side journeys we've gone on this story. It was better and when it was just pure Billy, Paul and MND stuff. Didn't necessarily need, Bernie's going to prison, Bernie's got a new son. Those were all kind of distractions. But the pure story of it was, and the human moments and the really touching romantic moments between Paul and Billy...
And
fabulous.
Teaching us about MND without feeling preachy.
Yeah, that it was an issues-based storyline that was so well done.
Yeah, it was great. Good job to all involved. And so, on to Missing Deering Mystery. This was a lot of fun on Monday. Are you ready to move on to this one?
Yeah, I've just got a sore finger.
Yeah, Gemma was taunting the cat earlier.
I was playing with the cat.
She
was enjoying it. I wasn't taunting her.
So, big old mystery set up on Monday, because last Friday's episode ended with Joel crowing... No, what was he doing? He was in the car.
He was CGI. He was in a CGI
car. Oh, yeah,
car.
we didn't talk about this last week, did we? Because we didn't know.
So last week we had an emotional message recorded by Joel in the car as he's saying goodbye. He's leaving what seemed to be a suicide note for Dee Dee on her answer phone. And then, on social media, Coronation Street's going, yeah, you thought it was a car? Did you think he was in a real car in a real place? Well, you're wrong. It was a green screen. Yes, that's right. We filmed the whole thing on a green screen. And everyone's going, why? Why?
There must have been a good reason.
There must have been a good reason.
I think it was because they wanted to have the camera panning round without a car getting in the way of him.
I just think it was. I don't know. It feels like, how they say at the end of every tax year, the council has to dig up the road because otherwise they lose their budget. It feels like they're like, we've got a CGI budget here, you can use it, and somebody's going, what about the fireworks? Like, shut up about the fireworks. We'll just copy and paste fireworks in. No one notices. It's fine. But this needs to be CGI and it needs to be on a green screen.
But fair play to them. I didn't see anybody before the reveal of it saying, oh, that doesn't look real to me. Not like flipping Stephen and Tim in the car last year for Super Soapweed, where it was very clearly volume wall. I was convinced.
The police station, Tim.
If they're going to use CGI on Coronation Street, then or green screen or what have you, this is how to do it.
The reason why nobody suspected that it was CG was because there was it just didn't feel like there was any reason to ever fake somebody sitting in a car on the phone.
Yeah, it was very much a why would they, but I think it was probably because they wanted to have the camera swinging around him and then revealing the cut on his cheek at the end, which maybe would have been difficult inside an actual car. I don't know.
I bet you there's loads of directors watching that going, in my day we would just film it by moving the camera around an actor. Call me old fashioned.
I'm not mad at Coronation Street for doing that CGI, but I would as green screen, but I would be really, really curious to know the actual reason.
I'm only mad if it was expensive. Because all we hear is how much they got cut back. I'm just saying that could have bought quite a lot of sausage rolls at the Christmas do that they're not going to get this year.
Yeah.
So just think about that.
Could have maybe paid for Dirk to have appeared at the rave up. Maybe.
His fees are very high.
So anyway, that was...
Especially for stunt work like dancing.
That was last week's cliffhanger. And...
Yes.
We kind of went into this episode going, oh, I wonder what Joel's going to do next.
Joel sobbing leaving a message saying, that this is the end of me. The revelation was that he had blood on his face, and the question was, where did that come from? Because if he's leaving a phone message, he doesn't need to wear blood on his face. He doesn't need to. Was it real? We still don't know this.
No, I'm baffled, and I'm a bit disappointed that the mystery didn't keep the allure on Friday's episode. I was perfectly happy and content with Wednesday's episode to not really feature it because the focus should have been on Paul, but I was kind of hoping that it would pick up again on Friday, and it didn't really. There was a few bits with Gus turning up, but any intrigue that I had for it on Monday, which was a whole lot, Friday I was like, oh,
loved it.
I'm not
Anyway, tell me
into
more.
it anymore. Well, so it even starts off with a bit of an unusual scene, doesn't it? Because Dee Dee's coming back into her flat. Don't know where she's been. I can't remember. Maybe I should know. But
she looks unnerved.
She does. And she plugs in her phone, and then she goes over to the sink and has a bit of a woozy moment, doesn't she? She's looking down at the water swirling in the sink, and she's going a bit blurry-eyed. I totally forgot about that until after the episode, and people were going, what's going on with Dee Dee? What's going on with Swain? But yeah, it feels like, the problem with Corrie, one of the problems with Corrie at the moment is they will often now have characters going woozy and blurry for no particular reason. And so it didn't.
They even had that a bit at the rave, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. So it didn't particularly stick with me. It was just, here we go. Upset. What's going on? Yeah, she's just upset about something. But
we're having an issues-based anxiety attack.
Yeah, exactly. Just one of those. But actually, was there something wrong with Dee Dee there? We'll maybe come back to that when we talk about Lisa's ailments. So her phone kind of pings on, and she gets this voice message from Joel, and she starts to tear up about it, understandably, because it seems like it's a bit of a suicide note. So she takes the message to the station, and Swain's there saying, well, I wonder if
was it a suicide note?
Yeah, and Dee Dee says, no, look, he's playing us. No way. Kit comes in and says, oh, we've done a bit of triangulation here in our special police control room, and we have found his phone signal. So we know exactly where he was last night when he left this message.
The green suite.
Yeah.
He was in Studio 4.
No, he was out in the countryside. I hadn't seen any preview pictures from this week at all. So when we then cut from that to a lovely drone shot of Corrie out in the country, then they would have filmed this right in the middle of August, probably, wouldn't they? When it was lovely and sunny.
Idyllic.
Loved it. Really, really nice.
Really, though, again, felt like an episode of a different programme, because we had these beautiful sweeping drone shots. We had the countryside, the beautiful rolling hills, and the aqueduct, and the car parked underneath the bridge, and
I think it was actually a viaduct. Some kind of duct.
And the abandoned caravan, and the high grass, and Dee Dee walking through a field looking intrigued. It's like, wow, this is like Midsummer Murders or something. This is great. But it's also not very Corrie-ish. But I don't know. I'm kind of in two minds about it, because I do love all this stuff.
I really, really appreciate it.
But I do think, there are definitely people who are right to say, since Dear Swain became a regular, it does feel a bit like a cop show at times. And I don't know what the solution is to that, really. I guess you have to watch EastEnders.
Solve the crime and then just go away for a little bit.
I just think, I don't know why I think this, but I kind of get I wonder whether Swain is going to stop being a cop after this case, or at some point.
But it all depends what she's done, if she has done anything.
Well,
right,
sorry.
Let's get to that. So they stop at this viaduct, do Swain and Kit, and they find Joel's car there. It's empty, but when they open it up, they find there's a note on the seat.
What does it say?
Well, it was a suicide note, wasn't it?
It's a receipt from...
No, it wasn't. From
Greg's.
I thought that was all we were going to get from the location shoot at that point, because the next time we see Swain, she's back in the cafe again telling Dee Dee, oh, well, it's obviously a suicide note because we found his car, he's not there, there's a note inside the car, case closed,
she was very adamant, wasn't she, Swain?
She was, and I was watching it going, oh, here we go, it's just Swain being useless again, jumping to conclusions.
I was watching this going, I bet all the Swain fans are going to be mad about this, because he's clearly led them down the garden path there. It's obvious that he hasn't killed himself.
Yeah.
There's no body, and I'm thinking, this is a stitch-up for Swain, because she's not this stupid. She knows you have to have a body, especially with a tricky customer like Joel. Why is she so keen on just shutting everything down and going, no, suicide, don't need a body for suicide?
I wasn't suspicious at all until I read some theories online afterwards. I was like, oh yeah, because this was also the bit that we see her doing a little and my tummy hurts, and that's not been mentioned at all on Wednesday or Friday's episode. She had a very temporary but seemingly quite
incredibly painful. And it
little
only
ailment
happened. When she left, she reached for the handle of the door.
Yeah.
And that was what made her go, ooh.
Yeah, and then she goes outside and she sits in her car after speaking to Carla, and she has a bit of a moment there as well.
Yeah, because Carla goes after her and goes, are you okay? And
something's happened to her.
You're the only one that asks me that.
Oh yeah, there's something happened to her. Is she sick or is she injured? And I just was like, oh, she's sick, but that's weird. I wonder what's going on there.
Bloody hell, if she's got cancer, then I quit.
Oh yeah. So the theory that I really latched onto online after this was: has she attacked Joel? Does she know exactly where he is? This is why she's so adamant that it's a suicide, because she's trying to deflect. Yeah, exactly. Deflect from actually what's happened is that she's either done away with him or got him tied up in a basement somewhere, or something along those lines.
But later on, when she gets evidence and she hears, maybe he isn't dead, she's like, yeah, maybe he isn't.
No, I don't think she does. I think at the end of the episode where they're talking about, there was no cigar. I can't remember what the analogy was.
Sometimes a cigar is not just a cigar. What's it?
Kit tells her at the end of the episode, because they later find this other car and it gets traced to him.
We'll get to it.
And she's like, oh well, yes, that does make it look like it's not a suicide, doesn't it? But I think she wasn't saying that necessarily to say, oh, we were wrong, but more like, damn the cover up that I'm trying to get out there at the moment isn't covering it up well enough. So has she done? What do you think? Do you think that she has actually done something to Joel? Has she got him somewhere? Or has Dee Dee? I don't know, because again, if it's an injury that she got while she was having a bit of a scrap with Joel, that makes sense. But equally, is she ill? And is that the same kind of ill as Dee Dee possibly was at the beginning of Monday's episode?
Yes, because I heard another theory that Joel's poisoned them.
Yes, I saw somebody saying that as well, but I don't know when he would have had the opportunity.
What's he poisoned them with?
Well, I don't know.
What's he poisoned?
And this is why I was just a bit sad that we didn't get a whole lot more of this on Friday, because I was living for this. And you know that I've not been that keen on the story so far, but there have been moments that are like, right, I'm back fully in on this, but it didn't quite deliver. Well, it didn't deliver at all on Friday for me. We are no further to solving the mystery of where Joel is now, or what was up with Dee Dee and Swain on Monday, than we were at the end of Monday's episode. And I just really hope that once the weekend is over and we get into next week, then we start to have a little bit more clues.
One thing that Swain says to Carla when she's like, are you all right? And she's like, look, yeah, I'm just caught up with this case because Betsy's involved. This is personal.
Yeah, well, we've known that this is personal.
I know, but she said it, Michael. It's like it's the name of the show that she's in.
I've seen that.
Swain, this is personal.
So somebody suggested that maybe Betsy has attacked Joel or something, and maybe Swain's
Betsy
covering up because she knows. I don't know. I literally haven't got a clue. I couldn't say one way or another what's happening here, because it's either that she's poisoned somehow, like you said, or that she's killed him, or it's something else. But both of those feel like it could be 100% definitely that, but it's clearly not both of those.
No, that would be weird.
So I just don't know. But anyway,
she goes to see Lauren.
She goes off to see Lauren in the hospital. I forgot to say as well that when I was sitting in the lounge earlier today, and I rewatched Monday's episode with the thinking of, right, I'm going to watch this with the belief that Swain knows where Joel is, will I pick up anything differently? And I didn't. Like, there was no little
When did
clues.
you do that?
No, when you were in bed. Yeah. There was no little giveaway looks. And I was hoping that I might notice something
I think it would be too
that
obvious.
she would react to.
I'm loving it.
It's only obvious after the fact.
No, but
if she'd put a little mini reaction in beforehand, before we knew...
No, all right, okay.
Or before we might have suspected that she's got something to do with his
face.
disappearance.
She's like Lady Gaga of Weatherfield.
Well,
so
they go to the hospital. Lauren doesn't quite believe it's suicide either, but they just agree to tell each other if
we'll
they
see.
hear anything.
Look, Swain says, your sleepless nights are over.
Yes.
Why is she so confident? Because she's killed him? Because she's tied him up?
Yeah, this is it. This is the thing.
Maybe she tied him up in that car and she's changed the green screen background to, like, I don't know, Tibet. He's never coming back from there now, is he? He's stuck in Tibet now. Yeah.
I thought you meant she's changed their background to Bet, like Bet Lynch.
She's like, I'm going to channel the spirit of Bet Lynch. And what would she do? She'd burn his eyes out with a cigarette, probably. Good for her.
Do you think that they would have Swain actually kill him? I think that's probably too far. And I think the character is supposed to be a good character as much as anyone can be.
What I think is going to happen is that whatever... I think she has done something. And I don't know if Dee Dee knows that what she's done or not. Or maybe Dee Dee's pregnant. Although everyone's like, why would she have slept with... Joel after she was very adamant, and I agree with that, but Coronation Street has not got a great track record with respecting women's religious beliefs when it comes to no sex before marriage, and definitely wouldn't care if there was drama to be had in her being pregnant. I think Swain has done something, and I think that Kit is going to find out.
Or has Kit done something? Or has Swain and Kit conspired together?
I still don't trust Kit. I think there's more to him, and I think maybe he's in cahoots with somebody.
Yeah, it really feels like he is. I mean, we are going to have a flashback, aren't we? 100% there's going to be a flashback about what happens here, because Corrie loves a flashback at the moment.
I wish flashbacks would come more in real life, because I could do with some flashbacks. Like, where's my phone? I remember now. It's by my bed. Where else would it be?
The question is, as well, that we have not really even said, about what was Joel's original plan? Yes. Because if Swain has gone after him, or Kit has, or a combination of two of these people have... What was Joel originally going to do? We're still no further as to know it.
Look, explain what happened next. So Joel's car has been found with a suicide note. He's left a message on Dee Dee's phone, and Swain is 100%, even though she doesn't know where the body is yet, she thinks he's going to turn up dead.
I mean, she threw Roy in prison with no evidence, so why not just say, yeah. He killed himself.
I mean, why not just say he was a serial killer? You don't need the bodies to say he killed people. You just say he could have killed 100 people.
Exactly. Dee Dee goes out into the country again.
She goes to next to where the car was found, and she's on the phone to Lauren, asking her to use the tracking app on her phone to tell her where Lauren last saw Joel.
Oh yeah, but she already goes into the field, and then she just phones up Lauren to confirm that am I in the right place here. Now, little bit of spoiler here for breaking the magic, just to ruin the magic of this. That little field that Dee Dee was in real life is not right next to the viaduct, and I want to bring this up just because I wanted to celebrate a little bit how.
Toot your own horn.
Well, I would like to toot the horn of me and the guys from Coropedia, because after Monday's episode, we were texting each other going, right, we need to find out where this viaduct is, and I found a Wikipedia page of viaducts in England, and then they looked down it and they eventually found the one that it was. It's like, yes, that's a match. And then I went onto Google Street View and found it, and then I walked down the road until I found the gate, because the way that it looks on the show is that it's right outside, because you have Dee Dee looking at the viaduct, and then she just turns to her right a little bit and there's the gate, but it looks like you have to drive about a minute down the road before you get to the gate.
And
Sorry
that,
to
my
spoil
friends,
that for
is
you,
what
everybody.
happens here on a
It's the
Monday night.
magic of telly. But oh yeah, you can find it on our Corrie map on our website
See,
if you like. Go
I
and
love,
visit it.
I love that you. I love it. This is your new hobby, isn't it?
Yes.
Finding locations. You've started to really get into this. This is what I used to be like, trying to track down mysterious wardrobe items from members of the royal family when they appeared.
Oh no.
Except the difference is, I used to actually get a cut.
Mine is purposeful.
I used to actually get a cut of the sales, Michael. Do you remember? One time I made 50 quid because I knew that the Duchess of Cambridge was carrying a Alexander McQueen clutch.
I'm also going to go out there
50
and
quid.
say probably a few more people cared about what the royal family were wearing than where the viaduct was that Coronation Street filmed.
You know what I'm
but
going to
I
say?
don't care.
I say they're both equally valid things to be interested in, and if you don't like them, that's your
Well,
prerogative.
we've got somewhere else
I
to go
hope
and
you're-
visit now. Although it is in, what's the name of the place?
up north.
Martham, which is a bit north of Manchester. It's a bit out of the
Lytham
way.
St Anne's, isn't it? We
No,
haven't been
no,
there.
it's nowhere near there.
I thought it was up north and by.
Not that fun. Oh no, it may be. It's northwise. It's kind of on the same level. I'm avoiding saying latitude or longitude because I keep forgetting which one's which.
A longitude.
It's kind of, if you go up from Manchester, you'll reach this place eventually, and then if you turn
What's it
left,
called?
you'll get to Blackpool.
What's it called?
Don't worry about
No,
it.
please, can you tell me?
It's called Martham.
M-A.
Martholme.
O.
You can go and find out where
L.
that is.
M.
So you just do that quietly to yourself while
No,
I
I like
say
to
what
vocalise.
happened next. So Dee Dee goes into this field. She finds a little burnt out farm. There's a caravan there, I think, and there's also a very suspicious car-shaped car with a cover over the top of it. She whips it off and she's like, "Yes, I've found something." Phones up Swain and says, "Lisa, I think you missed something."
Lisa, you dumb cow.
Yep.
And then everyone's like, you can't have this slander of our queen.
So she goes back to the cafe, tells Roy what she's found, and it's like, right, what if that was the car that Joel was planning to drive away in after he faked his suicide? And Roy's like, well, yeah, maybe that could have happened. Swain comes in and says, like, I've looked into this car you told me about. It was registered to someone else, not Joel. But she is convinced, Dee Dee, that this is all part of Joel's plan. And Roy's like, yeah, she's not wrong. This does look a little bit suspicious, actually. And Dee Dee says, well, even the tracker that I've got put him at that location once. So there is something majorly fishy going on in that field. That's all I'm saying. But then Lisa gets called away by a message that she's got from Kit.
I've got an important update here.
Go on then.
To let you know that there would be a very important Coronation Street character that would know this viaduct quite well.
Why is this?
Because it's near Clitheroe.
Who going to Clitheroe again? Oh, Annie Walker.
What the
Beaumonts of Clitheroe.
Beaumonts of Clitheroe.
Oh, well, there we go. So,
Oh, the Beaumonts of Clitheroe.
what has happened here?
Right.
Joel-
Okay. Right. Here's the evidence. Left a message on the phone.
Yeah, left a note
Left a note in the car. He abandoned a car under a bridge, and it looks like his plan was to abandon that car and take this car secretly and drive it away to freedom, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So why does she know that was related to him? Because his phone was last seen there.
Yeah.
So if his phone was last seen in the location of this second car...
Well, no, it wasn't last seen there. It was seen there, previously, midweek last week. It was seen that he, at one point, went into that field.
I thought that was the last...
No.
Oh, okay. Well, that completely changes everything.
But it just
That's
shows
him
that
just
he
setting
was...
the car up.
Yeah.
So all that needed to have happened is that somebody followed him in their car and intercepted him before he got his getaway.
Yeah, I think he was clearly trying to... Well, yeah, obviously he was trying to fake a suicide. He wasn't actually suicidal. But what has happened to him to stop him from getting away in
and
that
what could
car?
have happened,
I'm
right?
desperate to know.
There's only a few things. He could have changed his mind and come up with another plan. This could be part of his plan to throw people off the scent. If they thought he didn't kill himself, then they might think, okay, this is part of his plan. But I can't see, that seems too elaborate and it doesn't make any sense because he hasn't led them anywhere. And it just leads back to the same thing, that he's dead. He died by an accident, somebody knocked him over, or he was killed by somebody random, which won't happen because that's boring and doesn't make any sense for a fictional story. Or he was kidnapped or murdered by somebody
we know.
That we know in the story. And there's only a few people that
His
it could
plan
be.
went awry. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kit, Lisa,
Dee
Dee, Betsy.
Yeah. There
Carla.
aren't many people with a hat in the ring here.
Who else? I mean...
Bobby's been quiet lately, and it's
Bobby,
always the quiet ones.
Max. Even perhaps Dee Dee's dad.
Yeah,
Ed.
Well, we've also got the whole thing last week of the noise in the Platt's back garden, haven't we?
Yeah.
Is that a complete red herring? I can't
What
believe
was that?
I can't believe it is. But I just have got no
was that the
theories
same-
about what it could possibly be.
Was that at the same time? Was he missing at that point technically?
Yeah, this was when he was making his phone call. But then if he was making his phone call, he was miles away from the street, so it couldn't possibly have been him creeping around in the Platt's back garden at the same time.
Did they coordinate his phone to that phone call to that car?
Yeah.
That's how they found him. So that phone call definitely came from there.
Yeah.
And it's not just his phone pinged there at some point.
I just can't think... What?
Could he have... I don't know, because we did see him make the phone call. But what was the blood from? Where's the blood from?
Yeah.
I love it.
I can't figure out what that noise can have been. Plus, I'm still reckoning that that little clue from last Friday's episode where Jenny, I think, was talking to Daisy or Daisy to Glenda, I can't remember, about leaving the latch off because Kit hadn't got home yet.
Yes.
So Kit was out late.
Yeah.
We know when this was happening.
Don't let
So how can he not be involved?
Don't let you.
I think that's the biggest clue. I think that Kit's done something. But I love that there's a mystery.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely love that there's a mystery, and
One thing
not
everyone
in the slightest bit obvious.
Is sure about is that this is not all it seems.
And some people might say that it's isn't this just the same as when Lauren went missing? And are we going to have is it just a retread
Another
of Lauren?
prolonged.
But I think a lot more people are invested in where Joel is than where Lauren is already. I don't think it's just us.
It doesn't bother me whether people enjoy this or not. I like it when everyone's on the same page and enjoying the same thing together. But I don't think people give a crap whether I enjoy something or not. So
all I want is that we don't have to wait as long as we waited for Lauren.
I don't think we will. I think this will be
to find out where Joel was. I kind of need to know by this time next week. Yeah, I'd like to know within a week, but I don't think we will.
It'll be done.
This feels to me.
He'll be back.
This feels to me like a character is a big bad is about to have their grand finale.
Yeah.
So they're disappearing for a bit, and then they return to
This
make
is like
their
every
last
single.
hurrah. Every single big Corrie baddie, and
this.
Joel is not up there with Richard Hillman. He's not up there with Phelan, but it's following the trajectory because Richard Hillman went away for a bit, then he came back and did his big canal drive. Pat went away for a bit to Wales,
and he got kidnapped by Gary.
Then he got kidnapped by Gary.
Maybe
and
he's
then
in the
shot
builder's
up
yard.
Michelle. So yeah, I think that the next time that we see Joel, I mean, we're already possibly seeing it with Rowan as well, aren't we? I think the next time we see Joel, it's going to be for his final week.
Maybe he's tied up in the brewery somewhere, and on Friday he was like going, "Oh man, I'm listening to rave music now."
I don't know, but yeah.
Did that not disturb those bats?
All of this kind of excitement
Maybe
that I'm splurging
voiding
out
it.
here about the story now, I was feeling when I was watching it on Monday, and it was great because it's so lovely to just watch Corrie and go, oh,
Don't know what's happening.
I didn't know this was happening.
No.
There's so much it could be, but equally I've got nothing that I can grab onto to say, well, it's got to be that then. It was just brilliant, and they can't do it all the time.
No.
But yeah, an awful lot of fun, and yeah, I just wish that they'd picked it up again on Friday properly. So anyway, back to where we were. So they're back on the street, and Lisa's been called away by this message. And it's,
what message?
It's Kit saying that Joel's flat's been burgled because they go along to Joel's flat next, don't they?
I'm confused.
Looks like it's been broken into. So this was again part of his plan to make it look like he's been broken into when clearly he hadn't. But then the inside of the flat was nice and tidy, which they remark on, and they find this notepad where the suicide or the fake suicide note comes from. They find it very easily.
And it looked like he pressed with his entire body weight. Like he was writing it as he was doing push-ups.
Yeah, that pen leaked like... I mean,
and he was
like
going,
that, it was a really... it looked like a quality notebook, didn't it? It was even monogrammed.
Oh,
but maybe it just had toilet paper sheets, and it's...
Maybe it's one of these fancy
the monogram
things
you pay
get
for
at Christmas when it turns out it came from a pound shop.
Yeah, maybe. So, again, like, if Kit knows something, if he's involved, is this all part of his plan? Is he leading Swain up the garden path here? Or does Swain know what's gone on and she's having to pretend that she's like, oh, what's happening here?
Well, the weird thing is that these two characters, if they're in cahoots with one another, this scene is odd because they are both pretending to each other.
They can't be. They cannot be in cahoots with each other.
Because nobody else was there.
Even the scene where they're driving through the country and they come across Joel's car, one of them possibly knew that the car was there, but they are not colluding.
They would have been like, "Here we go."
Yeah. But the fact that they find the notepad so quickly, I think it's Kit that finds it, isn't it? Is it because he knew it was there?
Right. So then,
I can't figure out whether or not Joel and Kit are in on this, or whether Kit's just like being a massive vigilante and going off on his own little investigation. I just don't know. Do not know.
So Swain's saying that it wasn't spur of the moment because he wrote this note
at home.
He
He wasn't just out for an evening drive and thought, what? I'm going to end it all.
I'm fed up with this. It's a long drive home. I'm not going back. I'm just going to die.
Yeah. So this makes... That's all it does. It makes it sound like...
So he must have planned this.
Yeah. So Roy's with Dee Dee in the flat later, bringing her a nice pie. And she's pacing the floor. She's like, the police have missed something. I know it. Joel just lies. He's a very good liar, and they are falling for it hook, line and sinker. He pretends he's the nice guy, or he pretends he's a victim. But he is just stringing people along, and he's doing this right now. And Roy's like, do you want to come to the pub? Fancy a drink,
I'm out of ideas.
Sometimes, and she's like, right, do you even go to the pub? And he's like, I do sometimes go to the pub. I mean...
You sound like Mark Heath.
Oh, yeah.
Would you like to go to the pub, Jackie?
The thing is that Roy does go to the... It's not a... Who does go to the pub on a regular basis in Coronation Street these days?
Nobody.
Like
a fish out of water.
But we've seen him go to the pub a lot in the past, but maybe that was just because sometimes Hayley just wanted to get out of the flat and she wanted her tomato juice. But anyway, Carla and Swain are there as well, AA. Roy and Dee Dee are standing at the bar with Kit, but then he gets a message, so he goes into a corner to call somebody. And then
what was that about?
He goes back to Swain later and says, look, the DNA from the car, the second car, confirms that Joel did park it there. It was sold to him, and there was a laptop under the seat. I can't even remember whether we get anywhere with that. I wrote that down as a no, but that was another nothing happened with that in the end, did it? I don't know.
So it was a setup, they say. He's not dead.
Yeah, maybe. But there's still an awful lot of mystery.
There was quite a lot of development with the Carla and Swain. There were some really nice scenes with these two. Because Carla's talking to...
Nice, platonic, friendly scenes.
Carla's talking to Lisa. And she's like, how is Betsy doing? And she's like, she's really upset. She's always taking it out on me because of how she's grieving. And Carla says, you're a great mum, Swain. I mean, Lisa. And there was also that bit where they end up, at the bistro, hunkering in the bunker.
Yeah, on Wednesday. They go out for a drink together, don't
they? That was really sweet when they were like, just hunker in the bunker.
Yeah, but... I don't know. There's not been anything romantic yet, but it looks like it's going there.
I feel like we know where this is going. It's very cute to have them be friends but the connection is definitely a lot deeper than they would ever have a friendship be in Coronation Street, unless it was something like, Carla and Roy, maybe. Or yes, they're friends because one of them is going to die tragically and we want you to care. That kind of thing.
I think, if Lisa is up to her eyeballs in bent coppered things from what she's done with Joel, then that could be kind of interesting because Carla's also... she's adored that teenager, and she's worrying about that on Friday, isn't she? But yeah, it looks like it's not going to be too long before the Swala fans are either very happy.
I just did really like
dismayed
that cute smile that that Lisa gave Carla when she's like, "Yeah, we're hunker and now a bunker." Very cute.
Yeah, they're very nice. Wednesdays there wasn't too much really, and we've got Dee Dee talking to Kit saying.
Well, no, but she says to him,
I forgot.
There were all these wedding venue people were coming at me going, "Oh, I want money, I want money." They've suddenly stopped because it turns out that Joel's paid them off. Yeah. Why has he done that?
Yeah, if he were going to kill himself, why would he?
I don't find this compelling evidence at all.
No, nor me particularly.
Because people who are going to do this very often will tie up loose ends. He gave money to Emily and
Dee.
Lauren for his
Lauren.
Children. He can't take it with him.
But
it makes more sense that he's I don't know.
He's just trying to make out that he's a good guy.
I guess maybe she's saying, why would a suicidal man do that? Because he knows that when he's dead, his estate will get settled, all the debts anyway.
Yeah,
I guess that I think is if you think of yourself as an honourable person, you would probably do that rather than have it.
He just wants to make out that he's an honourable person. He's not honourable. He's honourable.
Listen, I know he is, but his self-perception is not so, is it?
Yeah, that's true. And that was basically it on Wednesday. And Friday, the drama for Carla is that she gets this decree absolute from her marriage to Peter, which kind of came out of nowhere. I wasn't really thinking they're going to get a divorce because Peter, I can't remember, was the original plan that he was going to go away for a year and then maybe come back? But we kind of knew he wouldn't. But I was a little bit surprised when that came out of the blue. But it put Carla in a ratty mood on Friday. Then we have other stuff with Joel's dad turning up at the station, talking to Dee Dee, who is now convinced that he's harbouring him away somewhere. But Swain pulls her away and says, "Look, he is clearly grieving. Not grieving. He's worried for about his son's location. He doesn't know where he is. So we need to keep investigating, really." Swain says, "Look, I can't tail Gus for you. That's a bit creepy. That's harassment."
She's like, "Gus thinks his son is dead. He's not going to come here and tell me to look for Joel if he's harbouring him in his house."
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And also, the other thing to note here is that if you do think that Dee Dee and Swain are in cahoots, then this conversation makes no sense.
No, I don't think. I think that Dee Dee is 100% not done anything dodgy. I don't think they would do that to her character. I think they could do to Swain. I think they already have done with Kit, which is why, to me, it feels like Kit is probably the most likely one to have.
But what's wrong with Swain?
Joel. But what is wrong with Swain? And why was there only something wrong with her on Monday? Because she wasn't wincing on Wednesday and Friday.
This reminds me, I've got to watch the new series of Unsolved Mysteries.
Do you think this is going to be in it?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Joel Deering seemed like an upstanding lawyer, but little did his neighbours and friends know that he had a secret identity as a sex pest. When he disappeared and left a suicide note, it seemed obvious he had killed himself. But then some mysterious clues appeared, and all was not as it seemed.
I'd watch it.
Unsolved Mysteries!
Yeah, but I don't want it to be unsolved. I need to know. That's
the bad thing about it.
There was basically nothing here.
They don't solve it.
It's
the Mothman real? Still don't know.
Ryan finds out that Carla's in a funny mood, so he goes back home, discovers the divorce has come through, reads her post, and then Carla's like, "Oh, I need a drink," and that was about it. So really...
Well, she said she's celebrating.
Joel might not have thrown himself off the viaduct, but the mystery really has fallen right off a cliff by the end of the week. I don't know why they didn't do more to just keep it going, because it was so good on Monday, and it just dribbled and was drip fed to us for the rest of the week. And I'm not quite as invested. I'm still pretty invested, but I'm not right as much as I was on Monday.
They had to go quite far, didn't they, to get to it?
Yeah.
When I said it was near Lytham St Anne's, I meant it was like parallel to it. It's actually like 45 minutes away from it, but it is it's up by Clitheroe, like I said. And let me just see how far. I wonder how far they have to go from.
I don't
Media
know whether many
City.
people really care, but I care because I want to go and visit it at one point now.
It's only 45 minutes.
That's quite a way just to go and see a bridge. Okay.
But it was lovely though, wasn't it? Who's the location? I know that they say at the end who the location scout is or whatever it's called, location manager or whatever. What a great job.
Are we going to pay
Good job.
any time to Kirk in his singles mingles club? Is this him getting over Beth already? Is this just a waste of screen time? Yes, it is.
I liked it when Swain was like, "You asking me out?" Oh, I did a poll because I don't know the answer to this. If you're listening closely, you might hear me interchanging whether I say Lisa or Swain because I'm in a quandary about it because I feel like calling her Lisa is too casual.
It doesn't feel right to me.
But Swain seems too, it seems maybe, is it disrespectful? I don't know.
She's been Swain for years.
But I asked people, what do you call her? And Swain won with 64%.
How many
with
votes did you get?
337 votes.
Well, there we go.
So,
it's decided.
I mean, she's got to be Swain if it's going to be Swala.
Yes. Yes.
Shall I go? It's my go to talk
yes,
about
the Fizz and Tyrone story, which also had some really, really lovely moments. Especially
we got to see Dr.
Monday and
Gaddis.
Wednesday. Yes, Gaddis was back.
Yeah. So on Monday, Tyrone and Cassie are talking about the fact that he's planning this candlelit supper surprise because her birthday was a bit of a dud. And she's saying to him, look, concentrate on the family you got, not the ones you've lost. You need to give things just a bit more time with Elena, but focus on Fizz for now. And so then we see Fizz and she's swooning and being funny and dizzy and not herself. So Sean and Lizzie tell her to go to see a doctor. So she goes to see Dr. Gaddis and she tells her the symptoms. She's like, I've got nausea. I'm lightheaded. I'm a bit pudgy around the middle than I was before. Stopped having my period.
Oh yeah, what does Gaddis say? Do you have a very active sex life?
What positions do you do?
She might as well have said that, doesn't she? She kind of leans forward on her desk and goes, tell me all the goss.
Go on, love.
What do
go
you
on.
gingers get up to?
Is he a right goer?
It was like a little bit too
No,
forward.
I liked it.
It was absolutely fine for the character, but I think if a doctor asked you in that tone in real life, you'd be like, hang on a minute, do you want to know for medical reasons? Or
I
is this
need a
some kind of
chaperone, please. Well, looks like Fizz could be pregnant. For some reason, she takes a pregnancy test with her to work. Like, normally...
Gaddis is a very busy woman.
No,
she can't just sit around waiting for blue lines to appear. She's got many patients to see.
You would have your test right there, then and there.
They didn't even have to, have her hiding it in a bag and it be discovered either,
What's
did
this
it?
in the bin?
It's just Izzy snooping around.
Well, she's just looking sad, and
Fizz
and Izzy comes along, and Fizz goes, "I'm pregnant. I've done 2 tests. I don't really want a baby though. I don't want to keep it." This is a bit of a sad thing to say to Izzy, but I guess Izzy's got her child now. But she went through struggles. Fizz, don't just be like, "Oh, I didn't even try. I just became pregnant." Oh, sad. So she goes home and the room's all done up nicely and Cassie's like, me and the girls
making good
going
use out of those 40th
to the
birthday
cinema.
banners. Well, we also had the scene, I think it must have been earlier that episode, where Cassie was blowing the balloons up and we were getting a little bit Austin Powersy.
She had a very suggestive set of balloons.
Yes, it was very funny.
They said bugger and they had
phallic balloon sculptures. Yes. But it was all,
It's all in good fun.
It was.
I mean, how do you
lot
think
of
Fizz
fun.
got up the duff? She knows exactly what that was. So
and Tyrone Mum, you can't do that.
Fizz tells Tyrone the news when they're alone. And Tyrone's like, that's why don't we? That'd be good. We could make it work. And Fizz is like, I didn't really know about this. And she's kind of like on the fence. And then Cassie and the kids come home and they have to stop talking.
I was very excited when this happened. I think this is another reason why I enjoyed this week so much. I literally went in there thinking, wow, there's going to be a funeral and a rave, but apart from that, I don't know anything that's going to happen. I had no clue that Fizz was going to get pregnant. Did you get any wind of this?
I saw somebody say on Twitter last week, is Fizz pregnant? And I thought, why would you say that? It makes no sense.
Oh, I didn't see that even.
I don't remember her having any other clues of being pregnant.
I think I saw somebody on Twitter, because I think we watched Monday's episode a little bit later. I saw somebody on Twitter saying, Fizz is going to get sick now, is she? And I was like, oh, is this what it is? Is Fizz going to find out that she's sick? I don't need another illness storyline, thank you very much. So it made it even more pleasant when I found out what her actual news was. And even though by the end of the week it looks pretty certain that this baby's not going to come to fruition, as it were, I was so thrilled for the couple because, you know me, I'm a massive Fizz and Tyrone fan. I think that they've
I thought you were going to say, I love babies.
I can take them or leave them.
You're not allowed to leave them, it's illegal.
I thought that...
You're also not allowed to take them if they're not yours.
I think that Tyrone, they haven't got a child that they've conceived together. This would have been lovely. They're one of the street's longest running couples in a show that doesn't really like to have long running couples. They're our age. We've said how we relate to them a lot, and not that I want us to have a baby or anything, but I was so happy for them, the idea that they would actually have one.
Why'd you say that?
But I'm also, I wasn't gutted at the end of the week when it was decided that they actually wouldn't.
Well,
because
look, it's still up in the air as far as I'm concerned.
I think it probably is, but if they don't, then I didn't have enough time to get too invested in it.
I think this is actually got much more potential for having the baby than not. Although it definitely is a good perspective. It's a good perspective to have a better representation of the sort of woman who is likely to have a termination, because most women who have a termination are women who already have their children. There's this weird idea, a persistent idea about the sort of woman who has an abortion. They're young, they made a mistake, they're with someone they don't want to stay with, uncertain situation, perhaps they're in financial distress, they don't have any other children, they've never had a baby before, or they're, doing it casually or flippantly. But actually I remember reading that the most women who have an abortion are women who just cannot have another child for financial reasons or family planning reasons or whatever it might be. Most of them are already mothers. So from that perspective of having the tension of a family where the children are old enough to understand what's happening and have been told, that's an interesting perspective, because that definitely brings up drama. But on the other hand, the like you said about having a child together in a blended family, there's tension there, because these two children might feel insecure.
Like the third child is
like,
the most
we weren't good
special
enough. We weren't good enough. You had to have a child together. We're your children already. And also the other thing is, if it's a son, that was one of the things that Tyrone was going on about with Doran, that he hadn't had a son, and there were lots of things that you can do, and whatever you want to say about gender roles, it's not my place to say, but Tyrone was excited about having a son for the sort of reasons that a man might be excited about having a son. So if it turns out to be a biological son of both him and Fizz, that would be a very interesting thing. Yeah, I think. And also, I think the fact that they spoke about having a termination with Hope and Ruby, that throws up the same kind of drama and questions that would happen whether the termination goes ahead or not. So I think the girls, it feels natural to me, if you're a child of a family and the mother is telling you we're going to have a termination, you would start to have a bit of an existential crisis about, how did I end up being... Was there ever a chance I could end up not being here? I don't know. Fizz is very sure that it's the right thing to do to tell them. And they seem to take it okay. But if that doesn't play on their minds, I would be surprised just for the drama. So anyway, on Wednesday...
You've kind of said everything that happened.
Well, on Wednesday, they're like making jokes about whether she's pregnant or not. And Tyrone's
they're joking about whether she's hungover at first, aren't
they?
No,
Hope says, imagine if she was pregnant. And Tyrone's like, oh my God, imagine. And then it's obvious.
Quick, think on your feet. It's a bit like a Homer talking to his brain moment, saying, quick, find a way out of here, Homer. And then, my Fizz is pregnant. The girls know. Well, and then we get the difference of opinion. Like, Hope thinks it's gross, and Ruby's dead excited about having a
Ruby's
baby
just
brother
very
or sister.
sweet, and Hope's just a cow. And then they also find the vape that Hope's bought, and she's like not going to apologise or feel bad
falls
about
out of a
it.
pencil case, doesn't it? That was a great scene where she was like, "Oh, I've never seen one of these before. And at least I'm not doing drugs or anything. You should hear what I can't remember." She calls out one of her classmates. So you should see what she's doing in the toilets at school. I want to know what's going on there.
Smack.
But yeah, she like does not care one jot that she's been caught out with this vape, and it was
she's like, "What unrepentant vapor."
It really, really was. It was quite hilarious, and she even says, "Well, it's not like I paid for them or anything."
Yeah.
She's like unashamedly like it was fantastic.
Well,
really great little performance from Bella there.
Yeah, the point to talk about, although I've already said. But this scene with Fizz and Tyrone again just proves how great these actors are, how much chemistry they got, the history they've got. The writing was fantastic because Fizz and Tyrone are sitting there and they've got a little bowl of Wotsits. And
the script is like, "Oh, I've got some Wotsits and those little cheesy biscuits that you like." So clearly they've got the okay to name check Wotsits, but
paid them.
mini cheddars and no.
Like, no, we're not. No, we don't want to be in a soap. Anyway, so she says...
Didn't Kirk like his mini cheddars when they had the factory roof?
Maybe they blew their
the contract for using mini cheddars ran out with all they could
Maybe they were like, we weren't happy with the product placement.
Yeah, you had Kirk eating them.
Oh my God.
We don't want to sell to people like Kirk. We don't want our customers to think that people like Kirk eat them.
Brie on it.
We want to see Carla chomping down a packet of mini cheddars. Thank you very much.
It. Right, so anyway, they're talking and Tyrone... she's really overwhelmed and conflicted about this, and clearly Tyrone wants to keep the baby, but she says we can't do this. This wouldn't be fair on anybody. And Tyrone is kind of struggling not to cry and says, I think I've been using this to distract myself from Doran. Okay, I think I agree with you.
Yeah, it was.
We should.
It wasn't a super long scene, but it was a really, really beautifully performed one from Jenny and Alan. Those couple they're so good at all that emotional stuff. The seeming like a believable married couple that would have these honest
really
heart-to-hearts without just kind of without throwing accusations
and like
or
breaking up
insults
with each other.
Yeah, it felt
finding hidden text messages.
It felt incredibly real. That conversation, that the tears felt real,
and it was heartbreaking as well.
Done, really, really good stuff.
Because there's so many factors as to why they don't think this is a good idea, and it's so heartbreaking because that if things were even a slightly different, they would have a different choice.
Yeah. It's not like it's couldn't in any way work. It could possibly work.
That's why I think that she will go ahead with it.
I wonder whether she will. But then do we have a story of the complications of having a baby when you're over 40? And I don't know whether I need that necessarily. I just want them. I just want nothing but happiness with that family.
I don't know that I want to see a risky pregnancy.
No, and I think it would be difficult to avoid the temptation to go down that route.
Well, it's the most drama. It's the route of most drama.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, so Fizz decides on Friday she's booked an appointment at the clinic and she says it's the right thing, we've got to do this. But when Hope mentions the baby, Fizz tells her that she's not pregnant, which then sparks the kids off.
Well, she says I was never pregnant, it was a false alarm.
So Hope is stressed out, so she calls Sam, and Sam comes round and she tells him about this false alarm, and he says, "Oh dear, last time I heard about this, it was Toya. She actually wasn't pregnant. She had cancer." And so this honestly panics them both. And when Fizz comes back home, the girls are like, "Oh, have you got cancer, Mum? Have you got cancer?" So she has to sit them down and go, "Look, okay, I'll tell you the truth. I am pregnant, but we're not going to keep the baby. It's for the best. We've got the family we've got. We're happy with it, and I don't think that this is going to help."
That was a very grown up conversation that Fizz had with the girls there, wasn't it?
It was interesting. Now I don't think everyone would have made the same decision here.
No, definitely not. She could have still said honestly, no, it was just a false alarm, but she chose to.
Well, one thing that she does need to tell the children is that pregnancy tests are not always right, okay, kids? So you might have a test and it says you're fine, you're not pregnant, but you still need to be careful and try it again another time.
It's one of those things like when is the right age that you can talk about issues as sensitive as terminations with your children.
I really like this because then Fizz tells Tyrone and they have a bit of a disagreement about whether this was the right thing to do. And she says, Ty, Hope had condoms, she's vaping, she's old enough, I can tell her these things. And Tyrone's like, oh no, I think I think they're too young and they shouldn't know these things. I think it was interesting because the thing about being a woman and having girls is that there are certain things that they need to know that maybe you wouldn't need to tell a boy. Like, I think boys can be innocent for longer than girls because the sad reality is there's a lot of biological challenges that girls have in their lives that boys don't have to worry about. So telling her female children about her termination, is that a positive thing because it shows them that sometimes you can make a decision like that and it's hard, but it might be the right thing to do? I don't know. But from that perspective, I thought it was interesting that it was the mother who was telling the girls, and Tyrone as the father was sort of thinking they're too young. I do think girls grow up faster than boys because because of our periods and things like that. You realise you don't have any choice. You have to be. You're kind of like, what's the word? Hitting the face with it.
Yeah. So what do you think is going to happen next week then? Is it going to be a case of the girls saying, don't do it, mum? Or could Tyrone, because Tyrone on Wednesday has said to Fizz, look, maybe you're right, if you want to go through with this abortion, go through with it. But I don't think he wants to. I think he would be absolutely fine
thrilled
with the fact. Yeah, thrilled.
I think he's being a really good and supportive husband. Yeah. And saying, you need to, I'll support you no matter what you do.
Yeah, I think that's
and he's not even saying it about that, which is even more supportive. Like saying to somebody, I'll support you no matter what, is not
that's
nice
code
and everything.
For I don't
want
you to do
doing the wrong
this,
thing. Yeah, but he's just saying,
here.
Yes, we'll do, we'll go with what you want to do. But, and I also think, watch out for Hope, because Hope is off the rails at the moment. She is vaping. She's got an addiction issue. She's clearly stressed about stuff. Vaping's not going to help you because you're just going to be thinking about your next toot. So
toot on the floor.
I think we're just going to put her on edge. If she's having her vapes taken off of her and she's like, when am I going to get my next vape?
What's that got to do with
makes
the
you
baby,
more yeah, but she's number one, she's a bit she's evil, we all know that.
No, she's not.
Number two, she's on edge because she's had her fags taken off her. Number three, I think that she is going to really react badly to the idea that, because she is Fizz's biological daughter. But child,
Hope doesn't really want another.
This child is going to be from the same mother as her, and now this mother is saying, I'm going to have a termination because I can't have this kid. If she's thinking back to when she was born, it wasn't really ideal that she was born with
in the midst of a tram crash.
Well, no, because she was, the daughter of a serial killer.
Yeah.
Is she going to think to herself, Mum, if she had the chance and you went back in time, wouldn't you have aborted me because I'm the spawn of Satan?
I think that if Fizz does abort this child, then Hope is 100% going to use it.
She's going to use it against her, point. And it's not necessarily even going to be because she's that invested in it being, she's that upset about it. Bearing in mind she's a fictional character, I just want everyone to remember this. I do think that she is a bit vindictive and she will use stuff to kind of as an excuse for bad behaviour.
The way I see it, like, if they have the baby, they have it. If they don't, they don't. I kind of like the idea of them having a baby together, but equally, I really like the family unit as it is. It doesn't need a baby.
Yeah, and there'll be a massive age gap.
Evelyn is massively noticeable by her absence throughout the whole of this. It would be a big age gap. Which
it would be the first.
Isn't necessarily a bad thing, but
it would be the first
unusual.
Grandchild that Cassie saw.
Yeah,
come into the world. And so that would be
we've spoken many times about the fact that having a baby can make a character and family very,
really
very boring and just revolve around babies for years, which I don't want for the Dobbs household. But yeah, so I'm easy either way. If they have a baby, they have it. If they don't, they don't, because I very much trust that they can give that family whatever emotional scenes that either of those outcomes would require, and they both do a very good job of it.
I think this is a great story because no matter what they do with it, it's going to be interesting and it's going to be important for some people to watch, because many women have to make a very difficult choice about family planning when they have limited resources, whether that's time, whether that's money, I don't know, but biological limitations, your age, you're worried about how old you're going to be when the kid grows up, or whether you're in good health or not. Those are all really hard decisions to make. But also, women who have children the age is going up all the time, especially for firstborn children. But mother's getting older all the time.
Yeah.
So watching a woman who's in her 40s having a baby, it's not like it's the first time it's ever happened, but on TV, but it would still be interesting because she'll have different challenges. And she's not going to bounce back as well as she would have done when she was younger. Although I will say, Concepta Riley, she was quite the elderly mum, wasn't she?
She was back
the
in the
first
day.
pregnant lady on Coronation Street.
Back in 62.
I can't remember how old she was. She was probably like 18. No, I think she was in her 30s, wasn't she? And that was quite, that was back in the 60s. So medicine wasn't as advanced as it is now. And she was in a bit more bother and danger than Fizz will be.
Speaking of bother and danger, shall we go on to the next story?
Speaking of medical strife.
The Plat 6 surgery story, which I didn't see. I was all for this last week. And it's not that I'm not now, but there was the fairly unwelcome injection of Damon Hay back into Coronation Street. He just won't go away. You can't keep him away, can you, Damon? You think he's gone, but he just pops back up again
Damon
like a bad
Hay,
smell.
go away.
Yeah, totally.
I don't mind him as much as you do.
No, I just, every time when I heard his voice on Monday, I was like, oh, is he back again? Is he? Oh, okay. So Sarah's on the phone to Adam at the beginning of Monday's episode, basically just filling him on updates on what's been going on with Bethany. It doesn't amount to very much. It's basically she's the same. I don't think... We didn't actually see Bethany at all this week, did we? It was just all Sarah sitting in a corridor next to a Turkish vending machine.
With Twixes.
There were no Twixes in there. And throughout the whole of this story, I just couldn't stop thinking about which scenes were reshoots. And I was like, is Bethany not in any of these scenes because she wasn't around for the reshoots? And was Gail originally supposed to be the one that's done this?
Yeah, I know, it's so distracting.
It was massively distracting.
I'm sorry to everybody that had no idea and was blissfully ignorant about this, because we're drawing you into our paranoia.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, so she's had a few voice messages, she says to Adam, but I can't listen to them because I'm in Turkey. Okay, is that a thing?
I think I remember this happening once before to me.
You can't get your voice messages in Turkey, so just heads up to anyone that's heading over there for their autumn break. Anyway, she says, look, can you have a listen to them for me?
Here's the thing, right? I find this more improbable that he can listen to her voice messages than that she couldn't get them. Because if I wanted somebody to listen to my voice messages, I would have no clue I don't even know it's possible.
No.
What are you talking about? Listen to my voice messages. Maybe they're lost forever.
Maybe it's a Vogel thing. I don't know. So anyway, the message is saying there's two. There's one from the loan company saying, "Sorry, we can't get ahead with your loan."
For idiot children. Sorry.
So you're gonna have to do a whip round in the pub. Don't say it was liposuction. And then there's a second message saying, "Hi, darling, it's me, Damon." And Adam hears this and immediately stops the message. But later on, when he gets his courage back up again, he sits down and he listens to the message, and basically Damon has just heard that Bethany's in a spot of bother over in Turkey and says, look, I got some cash from the bank job what was it, the robbery that we did before. It's just sitting there in a
right, can you remind me,
in a safe store place.
Where's Damon?
Damon's in prison with Harvey.
Yes, they are, aren't they?
They're both up in prison together.
Right, and Damon robbed. What did he rob?
I don't know.
Was it a warehouse?
Maybe.
Was that how?
I'd really try and blank Damon and Harvey stuff from my mind. I know it's my job to remember everything that happened, but I don't.
Oh dear.
He was forced by Harvey to go through a robbery. Otherwise, Harvey was threatening to set his goons on Sarah. Does that sound about right?
It could have happened.
I don't remember.
Sounds plausible.
I don't remember.
But so he's in prison, right?
Yeah.
And I assume he's using a bum phone for this because
indeed.
Otherwise,
no, I think prisoners just have their own earphones now, so I think it's fine.
And also the prison guards are like, look, we're cool here. We're cool prison guards. We don't spy on you or listen to you. Yeah. If you want to do any criminal stuff, just use the payphones. Just
get on with it and we'll turn them.
Look, it's more trouble than it's worth, honestly. Have you seen the paperwork? Forget it.
It's true. It's not. That's probably, not a million miles away from the truth. So anyway, he says, Damon's like, go and get this cash. It's yours if you want it, Sarah. I want to support Bethany.
Go get it from the lookup. The passcode is the year Weatherfield County was founded.
No,
which is 1888.
Who was that? That was old Neelan, wasn't it? Rick Neelan. So David catches up to Adam in the street later and says, "Oh, thank you very much for this £500 that you have clearly just put in this Bethany's crowdfunder." And Adam was like, "Oh, I thought that was anonymous." And David's like, "Oh yeah, right, whatever." So this was quite interesting because clearly there was going to be more than £500 in the lockup. So at this point, I was thinking, has Adam taken some of the money for himself? And then just give him £500 to Bethany or what?
Because that would be hilarious and brilliant.
Yes.
That wouldn't be the first time he's taken criminal money.
And also, he doesn't tell Sarah about it either on the phone, does he? He's talking to her later and he says about the loan, but not about this. Wednesday, Sarah gets a little visitation from the CEO of the cosmetics company, and I have quite enjoyed all of the Turkish characters that we've seen in this. It makes it feel a little bit more realistic, even though I just can't help thinking it's a very hastily knocked up set. I wonder, I kind of feel a bit bad because if a selection of these scenes are reshoots, had they dismantled the Turkish hospital set and then they had to quickly throw it up together again after Sean Wilson left. Anyway, the woman says that we'd like to cover the cost of the accommodation.
Your hotel bill?
Yeah, for while you're here. And Sarah's like, well, thanks, but that's a drop in the ocean. We're having to spend £2,000 a day to keep her here. And how dare you? And the woman says, well, sorry, Bethany knew what she was getting into. She signed her consent. She knew the risks. This is a one-time offer. You better take it. The woman's not wrong, is she? You do sign a waiver when you have this.
I agree with that. You would still get sued. They're still going to get... The thing is, she doesn't want to get sued. The question is, what are the rules in Turkey? What are the laws in Turkey? And... can Sarah realistically recruit a reasonably priced lawyer?
Well, I think she knows one.
To pursue it in Turkish court. You think Adam's going to be able to do Turkish law?
See, I know the thing with Corrie lawyers is...
Yeah, I know they can do boundary disputes and murder trials and coercive control trials. I know they're experts in everything. But, it's pushing it. I know Dee Dee's got the Rising Star Award.
Yeah, she's got a trophy that says, I can do everything legal.
I don't think that... I think this is a bit of a...
But I'm kind of a bit busy with another story at the moment, so sorry. If there was any negligence, they would get the money, right? But they would have to be able to pursue it. I'm kind of on this... I kind of agree with this woman here. And I do think, I said a lot last week about Bethany being under a lot of pressure as a woman, as a young woman who sees a lot of, modelling behaviour from influencers and celebrities to look perfect and have, it's no big deal. You can have this and that tucked and this tucked and blown up and injected and sucked out and put back in again. It does seem very casual, but she would have been warned of the risks and she signed a document and she isn't a baby. She's a very intelligent woman.
She's she's a rising star of journalism.
Exactly.
She just doesn't know where the trophy is at the moment.
Exactly. So then we have a scene with David.
And I just want to say, I did see people saying, "Oh, this is terrible. This is really. I think this Coronation Street's being really irresponsible here, besmirching the good name of Turkish hospitals, and it's trying to make out that Turkish hospitals are all terrible, and you go over there and they botch everything up." I don't think that at all. There's nothing I've seen here. The Turkish hospital looks luxurious as hell. Everything looks really much nicer than an NHS hospital, which I totally believe because I think quite a lot of countries have got very good healthcare because it costs a lot more than it does here. And so I don't think they've misrepresented anything here. I think if you do think that, I think you're kind of misinformed about the true risks of any kind of surgery. And you probably should educate yourself a little bit more about the risks that are involved in what you think are very minor procedures. And I don't think that anyone's blaming anyone in Turkey here.
Do you think that when...
I think that's a bit of projection.
Do you think that when in Coronation Street universe, when you have to sign one of these surgery waivers and you have to tick all the boxes like, do you have diabetes? Is there diabetes in your family?
Yeah.
Have you ever had heart murmurs or whatever? Do you think there's a box to say, are you a soap character?
Are you a soap character?
Are you a main character
How
in
long
an
is your
important
contract?
family? Yeah. Have you ever had a major health related storyline?
If not, do you want one?
Yeah.
Have you had any big medical storylines in the last 6 months? Because if you have, then don't worry about it. You'll be fine. We wouldn't do it twice.
Wouldn't do it twice.
In
Yeah,
one
that's
year.
just cruel.
Silly.
Anyway, so yeah, we have this scene with David hearing from Sarah on the phone what's going on, and he's like, "Oh, I can't believe the cheek of the matter." That felt like very Rue shooty.
If I was Sarah, I would say, I will take you up on your offer, but you have to pay for all my food, and I'm also getting a suite. Not a suite to eat. I want a bathroom and a kitchen and a...
So the word is starting to spread around the pub later about what's happened with Bethany, because it turns out that Audrey is quite the Silver Surfer, and she's been posting on this cosmetic company's website about how shameful they should feel. But unfortunately for her, where she thinks that she's DMing them, or David is assuming this is what happened, she's actually posted publicly, and for whatever reason, Izzy has been following Audrey. Just like, wonder what Audrey's posting on her socials at the moment. I'm going to do some searches. What's this? Bethany had liposuction.
No.
It felt a little bit contrived about how it all came out.
Izzy definitely seems like the sort of person who would get cornered at like New Year's Eve or something at the pub, and Audrey going, "Oh, love it. Have you got that friend fix face pics?
Friend Connect, it's called.
Because I'm on that, lovey. Tell you what, you follow me and I'll follow you, alright? You follow me because I haven't got any followers. Gail won't follow me. She's alright, bitch. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Anyway, can you follow me, love? I just want some
think
friends.
that Izzy leads the most boring of lives, and she's got nothing better to do than find out what Audrey is getting up to on social media.
I don't think...
She's alone in her Grayling Street flat. Nobody ever comes to visit her. She's lucky if she sees Jake once a month. She's like,
I can confidently say I don't think I follow
meaning.
anyone's gran.
No.
None of my friends' grans I follow on social media.
Anyway, so the word has started to spread. And then
because Audrey said in this message, she's had liposuction.
Yeah, and everyone's affronted by this because they've been putting their hands into their pockets and paying out into Bethany's Let's Get Her Back to England fund, but they're kind of understandably going, oh, hang on a minute, did she bring this on herself? And Bernie, who is, not in the best of moods on Wednesday because she's just buried her son. Or no, sorry, she hasn't buried her son, she's just consecrated her son, makes a big show of Bethany being completely to blame for this, just as Audrey comes in.
Yeah, she's saying, my son didn't have a choice.
Yeah. And David kind of whisks Audrey to one side at this point and says, nah, Gran, I think you've, you were meant to DM this cosmetics company. Well, actually, you posted it. I am... How convinced are you, because I'm fairly high up there, that this was supposed to have been Gail that did this? Yeah. Had you considered that? Because all through this I was thinking, that sounds like the stupid thing that Gail would do.
How dare you?
Don't you think?
No, I do agree with you. I think maybe unfairly, I don't know, older people have a reputation for not really knowing what they're doing, and I don't think that's always fair.
Gail is an older person.
I don't think it's always fair. I know there's not much of a difference in age, in reality, between the actress that plays Gail and Audrey.
But the thing is, and the reshoots have clearly caused chaos here. Even on Wednesday's episode, there's a scene where David... Yeah, I think it was that earlier scene, David saying to Sarah, oh, Mum's gone AWOL. Oh, well, she loves a good funeral. But then on Friday, she just comes down the stairs. So I thought that they were using that line as an excuse for why we might not see Gail for a bit. But then we did see her. I think that scene
was put in to fill time rather than to make any real... cover for her not being there.
Yeah,
I don't think it's as glaring to me as it is to you, because I think you are looking for...
I am looking out for
and
it,
I'm
because
not
I like
really.
to have something to moan about. But I would not be in the least bit surprised if it was originally supposed to be Gail, because Gail's an idiot that posted that comment. But I'm so much I'm so glad that it was Audrey, because they didn't really make her out to be an idiot, and I think that Sue Nichols played it just perfectly, and I think that Gail probably would have been like, "Oh, what have I done?" And she'd have been a bit too dense about it.
Gail would have been like, "Oh no!"
I think I would have watched it going, "Oh, Gail, you bloody idiot! How could you make such a stupid mistake? Oh, here we go, buffoon Gail strikes again." But with Audrey, I watched it and go, "Oh, poor Audrey. She didn't know what she's doing."
Because
they didn't play it. They didn't make out that she was just being an idiot.
When a sort of sensible person makes a mistake, you forgive it more. But when an idiot carries on being an idiot, you kind of lose.
And this was exactly what this was. And we also had the lovely scene at the end of Wednesday's episode where Audrey phones up Sarah and is really apologetic about what happened. And Sarah's like, "Oh, well, now Bethany's going to have to come back to the UK, and not only will she be, have the complications of her surgery and sepsis and whatnot, she's going to have the pub crowd baying at her door because she brought it on herself. Don't worry, the pub crowd's not as big as it used to be, Sarah." But yeah, I thought that was really nice, and Sue Nichols played it just perfectly.
I feel so bad.
I don't think it would have come out as well coming from Gail.
For Bethany here, because I do understand what people are saying, and I get that there's definitely a difference here between, I've got to have my leg amputated because it got crushed by a machine, and I just fancy having a smaller bum. But she's still a victim of like really unfortunate circumstances.
Well, this is what Daniel's saying, isn't it? Like, she's still, what? It doesn't matter how she got there. She is suffering and racking up these extortionate medical bills. Come on.
I feel really bad about it. Look, there are lots of things that happen to people that are definitely preventable. It doesn't make them any less of a victim or less deserving of sympathy.
No, but equally, I am. Although I would like to say, I would still give her money anyway because I'm a nice chap. I don't blame anyone for saying, hang on a minute, this isn't what I paid money for. And I think it's a natural reaction to say, what, she had liposuction and you're expecting me to pay for that, don't you think? I think that's very natural to think that.
Okay. It doesn't make you...
It doesn't make you a bad person if you think that, I think.
I don't know.
Anyway, Friday we had what?
It's just really sad. This happens to real people. This is just really sad. And I think it makes it worse in a way that it happened because of liposuction. Because you're going to spend the rest of your life thinking, I'm an idiot. I can't believe I did this to myself. That's punishment enough for me. I think that she's going to be psychologically damaged.
Is she though? Because no, Bethany thinks the sun shines out of her own ass, doesn't she?
She's
like, I'm the best.
About it and then...
Yeah, she will. Yeah, my liposuction hell. She'll write a heartfelt blog post about it,
and then somehow
suddenly it'll go viral. Yeah,
and she'll win a blog award that doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Queen Camilla will come and give her an award.
Yeah, so I'd like to think that Bethany might learn a lesson from this escapade, but I'm not convinced.
It's all.
Even though she'll have a bag attached to her stomach at all points, she'll still think it was. Nothing at all to do with
her. Well, she'll forget about it and so will we next year.
Anyway, Friday, we find out the extent of the financial cost that is being racked up.
This blew my mind.
Yeah, so Bethany's going to have to stay in hospital for another week.
So how long has she been in there now?
She's been in there for 2 weeks now.
Right, so that's £14,000. Plus, I think that the surgery in the first place was like £15,000.
Yeah.
So she's
another week is another 7.
What?
Another week in hospital. No, sorry, that's another 4. No, she's been in... What
she's
is it? £2,000 a day. So she's been there 14 days. So that's £28,000. Plus there's another 14 on top of that that's about to come.
Plus 15 for the original.
Yeah, plus £50,000 to fly her home. What's it called? Medivac?
Medivac.
Yeah.
That's over £100,000, right?
Yeah.
I can't. This blows my mind. You know when you do your travel insurance and they're like, what do you want us to cover you for? How much money would you like us to cover you for?
And it does actually, yeah.
You're like, what, £1 million? Yeah, that's £1 million, please. And you're like, what am I going to get for £1 million? I don't know. What would you get for £1 million? Because £100,000 for...
Just for a bit of botched lipo. Anyway, look, Gail comes down the stairs. Don't ask where she's been. She's decided...
listening to Tracy's old tapes.
I think she's been listening to the podcast. No wonder it's been keeping her up there for so
She's
long.
like, I wanted to listen from the beginning to find out what they say about me. I don't like it. I've given it a 1 star.
She's declaring that she wants to sell up number 8 so that she can use the house money to fund Bethany's treatment. It's the only way. I mean, that's probably a natural thing to think.
100,000. What? Honestly, Michael, what are they going to do? Because they're not allowed to leave Turkey until they've paid their debts. They don't have... What happens here? What happens here? There must be some company or somebody somewhere who will loan you under extremely extortionate... This is going to ruin her life.
Turkey can't hold Bethany hostage.
Yes, they can.
They?
Well, what do they do? There must be loads of people that go over there and end up in this situation. Not necessarily to the tune of 100 grand.
No.
But, I can imagine a company will go, yeah, we'll cover you. You have to pay us back 200 grand.
Do you think that Ken's pool money might come in useful
here?
I
said this to you when Ken was like, what are you doing, Daniel, here? What are you doing?
Yeah, Daniel's looking about whether he can use Bertie's trust fund
He's
money.
like, you should
Ken's
do that.
like, no, that is for Bertie.
Well, Ken's only got 50 grand.
Yeah.
That doesn't even cover half of it.
Unless we've done our sums wrong, which isn't completely out of the question.
Well, it's gonna be between 50 to 100 grand.
Yeah. We also had in today's episode Adam going over to see Damon in the prison. Who says, look, what's your deal here? Are you trying to get back with Sarah? And he's like, no, I just want to help Bethany, which is weird. I know that they were trying to paint Damon as a bit more of a nice guy before he got banged up, but I still didn't buy it, and I'm not convinced that he does want to help Bethany. But maybe he does. I don't know.
Do you think it's worth... The price of admission to Sarah's pants is £100,000. Is it worth it? I don't know.
What else happens?
True love?
Adam tells Daniel back in the pub he's going to tell Sarah about what's been going on. And Daniel says, look, Sarah doesn't need to know this. # no more secrets. Delete the voice message. We need to sort this out without compounding her problems. And then a bit later, Adam says, okay, the voice message is gone. And then we also see David and Gail at the bar talking about the valuer coming round money. It's around to the house, to find out what it's worth. So it's a bit of a setup for Monday, really. I'm still really enjoying this story. Despite everything, and even though I do not need Damon in it, I think that the general concept of it is quite engaging.
Do you not think that even if there's a load of money in there, it's not going to pay off all of this money?
I don't know. I mean,
how has he got £100,000 in a lockup?
People are going to just write in and tell us. They said exactly how much it would be, and it wasn't £100,000. But why wouldn't they? It doesn't matter. It's
Yeah, I suppose.
Schrodinger's lockup it's going to be as much as it needs to be.
However much bill this is going to be, the money will appear.
Yeah, right.
As
to
if
the
from
amount,
nowhere.
Right amount, exactly. So are you enjoying this?
Yes, I am finding this really interesting.
It's like I'm really surprised how much I'm enjoying it. But I would like to see. I hope we see a bit more of Bethany. Hope we see a bit less of Damon, and hopefully more Gail as well. So
because honestly, I'm thinking, okay, so the Medivac's 50 grand, hospital's £2,000 a day. Okay, can I not just maybe wait for the Medivac, not do the Medivac, just go EasyJet, but stay in hospital for an extra week until I'm better?
Well, possibly. And
then I'll save myself that 50 grand.
I don't know.
And
if
maybe
it works like that.
I might get myself a hot chocolate on the flight. But it wouldn't be £50,000.
I don't know. There's going to be a lot more to talk about with this story next week, because I've seen some spoilers.
Right, Mason and the Carpenter.
Basically nothing is happening here.
I haven't seen any spoilers.
I think I have told you. Never mind.
I'll
tell you when.
Right,
so you don't listen.
So Monday, Stu discovers that Mason's been living in the restaurant, and that it was his brothers that gave him a black eye, and he doesn't want to go home. And Yasmin and Stu bickering over whether she should be there, and she doesn't want him to come and live with them. And then Stu can't find anywhere for him to stay, and that's it.
I think they do beckon him into number 6 later. But
yeah, they do actually.
This story
because Yasmin doesn't want anyone to see that he's going to stay with them.
Yeah. I think they just kind of forgot about this story for the rest of the week, didn't they? And I didn't mind because it was definitely the weakest part of the beginning of the week. And the rest of it was great.
Lengthy street talk.
Yeah, it was quite long. I mean, there's lots to talk about. We had big mystery and a great old funeral. So I thought it was a strong week.
This was a really good week.
I went into Friday just willing this to be a fantastic episode, and it didn't hit the mark for me. But that doesn't mean it was a bad episode. By the time I got to like the first break, I was thinking, oh, this isn't going to be a bang-in today, is it?
But do you know what? We've been spoiled recently because it's been good.
Yeah, there have been
really good.
There's been some good stuff going on.
Yeah.
And I've been up and down on the Swain story, and it's probably going to go down again, and then it'll go up.
I gave Monday and Wednesday banging, and I gave Fridays a high bog standard.
So what does that equate to?
What did you give? What did you give it?
Yeah, it was banging bog standard as well, but I wouldn't say a high bog standard. But we don't need to.
No, it doesn't necessarily completely.
Yeah.
It's not like a conversion rate is exact.
I am giving this week's Coronation Street 4 chesticles in church, and that's Gemma and Bernie walking down the aisle, out of 5. Character of the week. I'm probably.
Toughie.
It is a toughie actually, because those two stories were both. I mean, it's not going to be Fizz and Tyrone as much as I enjoyed them, because the other stories overshadowed it. But it's a case of, is it a DD? Is it? It's not necessarily Swain. Is it Billy? I think it's going to be Billy. I think it's Billy. As much as I didn't appreciate all of the bickering that he got up to, the funeral I thought was really beautifully done. And I'm still on his side, even though he was a bit of an arse when he told Bernie that she didn't have the monopoly on her son.
I thought it's quite interesting because although I was on Billy's side, I did feel as though the perspective of the story was from Bernie's perspective.
Oh, really?
Because I don't know whether other people know what I mean when I say that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But it did feel as though the story was Bernie's story, and Billy felt a bit remote here. Because although we were getting a lot of like what Bernie was thinking, and she didn't like this and she didn't like that, it wasn't really until Billy, I saw him crying with the urn and hugging it, that I really got inside his head. You know?
I feel like I've got inside his head before.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give this week, it 4 hunker bunkers. I love that so much. Character of the week is going to be...
Gotta decide.
Tough. Who's it going to be? I think Billy as well.
Yeah,
but maybe Bernie is a very close runner-up.
I just think that Bernie going off on one and telling Billy about what happened with the phone call was so out of order.
They both showed their arse in that scene.
And also the Friday episode where she was
look,
stealing the urn away.
Well,
I know
it's all over now.
Later.
It's all over now. It's all water under the bridge.
It was a good week. It doesn't matter. You both did a grand job.
Everybody was
guys.
Great.
Yes, well done. Good week on Corrie. Let's hope it continues.